Yo, it's your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics, back at you with a new video. Today is Sunday, January 11th, 2026, with your boy Ryan and the Northwest Sports Fanatics. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button either now or on your way out. Donate to your boy if you can. Cash App $ ORIONNWSF or the YouTube Super Chat right here. We got the AFC Wildcard Playoffs. Los Angeles Chargers versus the New England Patriots. Kickoff is going to be here in just a few minutes. So let's cue up the music, take a look at the thumb, and let's get settled in for the AFC wildcard matchup. Happy Sunday, everyone. And on the thumb, on the left, one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the game, Jay Herb. From the Oregon Ducks, Justin Herbert. And on the right, one of the top 5 quarterbacks this season, and looks like he is going to be very, very good moving forward as long as Vrabel and Josh McDaniels are there to mentor him, Drake May. Can't wait to be able to see this matchup and see how it all pans out. And if you guys have been paying attention to the playoffs very closely, like I have pretty much been watching every game from beginning to end, is this the best start to a playoffs that we've ever seen? It's definitely, one of those things where if you go back and, recent history, I can't think of a better start of, the wild card weekend, honestly, ever. Every single game has been coming down to the wire. Every single game is coming down to like the last possession. Congratulations to the San Francisco 49ers for eliminating the Philadelphia Eagles on the road. Probably the biggest upset up to this point. We knew the Niners were a pretty good team, but when George Kittle went down with the Achilles, I think most people assumed at that point that they would just, roll over and die. It would be over at that point, and Philly would be able to kind of put the stranglehold on San Francisco. But it shows you Kyle Shanahan, Brock Purdy, the no-name defense, Robert Saleh. Again, they are very resilient, and now they're going to get a rematch against the Seattle Seahawks. And I know Seattle is smiling ear to ear because they know they did split 1-1, obviously in the regular season, but that was in the first game of the regular season. And then since then, Seattle has been the better team. So we did see them match up at the end of the regular season, and Seattle winning on the road, and now they'll be at home. So things are getting very interesting. So you'll get the Rams and the Bears, Seahawks and Niners in a rematch. I love that. And then if the Patriots end up winning this particular matchup, they'll get the winner of tomorrow's game of the Texans and the Steelers. And then you would end up getting the Bills and the Broncos. And obviously that will be flipped if the Chargers win. But again, I don't know if anyone anticipates the Chargers winning. If they do, it would be the biggest upset up to this point. And we'll find out if they can hang with this New England Patriot team at home. Dicker the kicker, 56 yards. And Chisholm there with a 22-yard return. First down and 10 at the New England 31. John in the building, what's good? Daniel in the building, what's good? Marine Bean in the building, what's good? Tech in the building, what's good? Hybrid in the building, what's good? And again, this Eagle team was nowhere near as good as they were last year. Obviously, the offense at times was in mud. And again, it shows you have to be firing on all cylinders at this point. And again, Philly was a good team this year, but not as good as last year, and they got clipped by the Niners earlier this afternoon. Handoff there to Ramondre Stevenson, and goes off that right tackle for about 6 yards. Dayan Henley, the linebacker for the Chargers, with the tackle. Second down and 4 at the New England 37. Hybrid in the building, what's good? We'll be shooting for 100 likes, 100 on the Dono train, and 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. Shotgun set on second down and 4. Drake May to his favorite target, Stephon Diggs. First down, Patriots. Move the chains. And again, no matter, the drama with Diggs off the field, one thing is for sure, whenever he goes to a team, whether it be the Vikings and the Minneapolis Miracle, Josh Allen and making him a name, and now making Drake May a name as well, Diggs is a winner. He may have some issues off the field, but goddamn, he really does make every single team that he plays on better. He may not be, a top 5, top 10 receiver every single year, but he definitely makes an impact on every team that he goes to up to this point in his career. Facts. Handoff up the middle to Ramondre Stevenson. Nice 4-yard game. Tarheeb still the corner for the Chargers with the tackle. 2nd down and 6 at the New England 48. So we got Drake Mayick, quarterback. He looks like he's going to be a top 5, top 10 quarterback moving forward as long as McDaniels and Vrabel are there to mentor him. Ramondre Stevenson is a good back, obviously power back that can get the job done. And then Travion Henderson, one of the best rookie running backs in the league. And again, Diggs. We're going to see a lot of him. And again, there's plenty of others at the wide receiver and tight end position that can make big plays for this New England team. Pass to Hunter Henry, incomplete. 3rd down and 6 at the New England 48. My buddy just messaged me that Denny Advia for the Blazers just got hurt with something with his back. That is not good. We were just getting ready to get Drew Holiday back in limited minutes. Blazers haven't had a point guard in 2 months. Injuries are just brutal in sports. Shotgun set. It's 12 noon. You know what time it is. Time for a sack lunch. Yum. Oweh with the big sack lunch. And you don't see that out of the Chargers that often on 3rd down. Big stop on the road. 4th down and 9 at the New England 45. And again, the Niners got the first upset, of this wild card weekend. Could the Chargers potentially do that as well? And then obviously tomorrow's matchup will be very evenly matched between the Texans and the Steelers. You would assume the edge would go to the Texans, even though they're going to be on the road. But again, you just never know, if the Steeler defense with TJ Watt and Aaron Rodgers on offense can do just enough in front of their home crowd with the terrible towels, which they could end up winning at home. Behringer there with the punt, and that's going to go into a touchback. And most drives for New England, when they start a drive, opening drive or second drive, they're normally getting points. So for them to punt, on a Charger defense that has names, they always have names, but usually what's the thing that holds the Chargers back? In the past, it was coaching, right? The defense, and then injuries. Now you got Harbaugh, so the coaching thing is no longer an issue, right? So now it's really just the injuries and, the defense. Can they actually play 4 quarters? And again, on paper, they have a lot of talent, but they just really weren't disciplined, and again, we'll see if Herbert can do his job with Ladd McConkey and others, but really the thing that's going to help the Chargers win this game is the defense, but I just don't know if they're going to be able to play 4 quarters, but I do hope that it ends up going all the way down to the 4th quarter to decide the winner. I don't think it'll necessarily be whoever has the ball last, like we've seen in every single game up to this point. Niners beating the Eagles, obviously Hurts going incomplete, not being able to get the touchdown. We saw Josh Allen do Josh Allen things. The Jags played very, very well at home, but again, when you score too soon and you leave a few minutes for that quarterback, they're either going to step up, and most of these guys have, or you're just going to find yourself not being able to make the play like Jalen Hurts at the end of the game. But to me, this is probably the best start to an NFL playoffs I've ever seen. I don't think I've ever seen so many games come down to the last possession. Huge comebacks with the Bears coming back to beat the Packers yesterday was absolutely phenomenal. We saw the Rams and Carolina Panthers go out in a shootout. Even Carolina showed that they were going to bring it, and that was exciting. And again, we got one more game after this tomorrow on Monday Night Football, the Texans and the Steelers. Can't wait to be able to see that. But to be able to see so many games, come down to the wire, people knew the Eagles and the Niners would be close. People assumed the Rams would blow out the Panthers, not so fast. I think a lot of people assumed the Packers would beat the Bears on the road, not so fast. And then we thought that, the Bills and Jags would be close, but what's the deciding factor? The best quarterback in the league, Josh Allen. He can do it with his arm. He can do it with his legs. And if you give Josh Allen enough time, most games, he will come back and, get the victory for his team. So, it's really starting to shape up into something really special this year. And it is always special every year in the NFL. But this year, just a little extra salt bay on this playoff matchup success that we've been able to have. And again, ratings are off the charts, and they should be. Amazing start here for the NFL in the playoffs. Shotgun set for Justin Herbert, short right to Trey Harris. Nice 14-yard gain. Woodson and Landry there with the tackle. First down, Chargers. And again, New England has to be disciplined, with their tackling. You can't go and diving for tackles, diving for picks. You have to be very disciplined here. Otto in the building. What's good? Yeah, well, most receivers are divas. We know that, right? It's pretty rare when you end up getting a receiver that's not a diva, like maybe Marvin Harrison, that just kind of does the job the right way, gets a touchdown, gives the ball to the ref every time, or just, puts it down on the turf or the grass. Again, there's a lot of individuals that, have egos, and they are divas for the most part. Herbert, pump faking. Go, baby. Go, baby. There we go. Nice run by Justin Herbert. And again, if the Chargers are going to be able to win this game and make it close, Herbert's going to have one of the best games of his career, and the defense has to have one of the best games of the season. Really love Vlad McConkey. Keenan Allen is old. You got Rondé Gadsden the second. So they got plenty of options to get the job done. And also, they have to win the battle up front on the line of scrimmage. And again, New England is probably the most well-rounded team overall in the AFC. But again, when you go to the playoffs for the first time for Drake May, we'll see if the nerves are a little bit too much or if he can settle in like he has all season. Hand off to Kamani Vidal. And that's a 2-yard gain. First down, Chargers. Move the chains. Michael in the building. What's good? Well, again, even with the Kittle injury, you guys didn't really play the same as you did last season offensively. And it finally, came back and kind of bit you. But you guys can still be proud that you ended up winning the championship last year, and it just really show you in the NFL how hard it is, to be able to, go back to back. And again, Philadelphia will be back next year. There probably will be some changes on the offense and the defense. And again, disappointing loss for the Philly fan base. But again, I don't think it's too surprising. And again, even if they were to win that particular matchup against the Niners, they probably wouldn't have won in the following round. False start there by Jamari Salyer. First down and 15. First self-inflicted wound for the offensive line for the Chargers. Harbaugh will be disciplining that player, obviously, at halftime. First down and 15 at the Chargers 40. Yeah, I mean, every game has been a heartbreaker for the most part, right? Carolina Panthers had their heart broken on that last drive by Stafford. We saw Caleb Williams do Caleb Williams things, and they came back and beat the Packers, right? Obviously, the Niners and Brock Purdy beating the Eagles. And then, obviously, Josh Allen getting that last opportunity against the Jags, which is really crazy because the Jags did not allow a rusher the whole year to get over 75 yards. And we know defense wins games, defense wins championships. And Trevor Lawrence has definitely looked like a much better quarterback. He's looking like a top 10 quarterback with Liam Cohen, the former offensive coordinator for the Buccaneers. He's doing wonders there. But again, Josh Allen is the best quarterback in the league overall, running and throwing. And again, at this point in the season, if you give Josh Allen enough time, more times than not, he's going to get you. The only time that really didn't happen is when they were going against the Kansas City Chiefs, and they had to be the road team. But that's the first road win for the Bills in many, many years. Shotgun set, short left, tipped in the air and incomplete. Nice job by Ellis up front, and Quentin Johnston was the intended receiver. Stafford. Again, May has been great, but if you actually look at the yards and the touchdowns and interceptions, Stafford's almost doubling him up. So you have to give it to Stafford. And it definitely looks like if Seattle beats the Niners, we're going to get more than likely, if the Rams beat the Bears, we're going to get Rams Seahawks in the NFC Championship game. Sign me up. That sounds fucking amazing. And then depending on what we get in this particular matchup, we'll see what happens, based off, who wins. And we assume, New England will win this game, but, I can't wait to be able to see how it all plays out. But if New England wins, they get the winner of tomorrow's game. So New England could end up making it to the AFC Championship game. And then the Broncos would have to go against the Bills, which would not be easy. 10-yard pass there from Herbert to Rondé Gadsden. And that's going to be just a couple yards short. Looks like 4th down and 2 at the New England 47. Now, I do think, Drake May has had an amazing year, getting mentored by, obviously, Vrabel and specifically Josh McDaniels. But if you're looking at yards, touchdown to interception ratio, I would go Stafford 1 and probably Drake May 2 for MVP voting. And we got to delay a game here on the Chargers. I'm not sure if they were thinking they were going to get them to jump off sides there, and that's going to bring them back. 4th down and 7 now at the Chargers 48. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. We only need, I believe, 17 to get to 23,400. So hopefully we'll be able to get a few of those tonight. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. So a little bit of a slow start for these offenses. Defenses have come to play, which I like to see. A little bit of a slower start in that Niner-Eagle game as well. But every single game has come down to the last possession for the most part. And I don't know if that's going to happen in this game. You would assume, this game and tomorrow's game, possibly could be the first two that might be decided before the last possession in the fourth quarter. But I really, really do hope, that the Chargers and the Steelers bring it. So that way, that these games can come down to at least, there's the fourth quarter before we find out who ends up being victorious and moving on in the next round. But if New England wins, they definitely can, beat, the next tier if it ends up being the Steelers. But if it ends up being the Texans, that might be the one team that New England would drop, a game to besides the Buffalo Bills and the Denver Broncos. So, if the Pats win and then the Texans win on the road tomorrow, that would be very alarming, for the Patriots. And again, they would have to play a very perfect game. CJ Stroud has been playing pretty good, but really it comes down to Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr., that D-line, the best D-line in football. If they can make Drake May's life a little hell, again, we know that they can end up doing just enough to get a victory, even though New England is very well-rounded offense, defense, special teams. And then obviously if you're Denver, you're probably rooting for the Chargers to win because you don't want to play Buffalo, to be able to make it to the AFC Championship game, maybe playing Buffalo, in the AFC Championship game to go to the Super Bowl, but to play in the divisional round and having to beat Buffalo and then having to beat New England. Not to say that Denver couldn't do it. They definitely could. But again, the path for the Broncos looks pretty difficult. And, as far as Seattle and the Rams, we're definitely looking like, not to say that the Bears and the Niners can't win in those particular matchups, but it definitely is going to be favoring the Rams and the Seahawks. And if they both take care of business, Seahawks versus the Niners, Rams versus the Bears, we're going to get an epic NFC Championship game between the two best teams all year in the NFC. For the most part, the Rams and the Seahawks. And that's what I want. That's what I want to see. And then as far as, the AFC, I want to see New England and Buffalo or New England and Denver. That's kind of what I want to see. But again, these teams are going to have to earn it. A little bit of a slow start here offensively for Herbert, but don't for a second think that Ladd McConkey won't be a factor. Keenan Allen is a little old, but he can still get you a few first downs here and there and an unexpected touchdown once in a while. And then obviously we know Drake May, his breakout season, absolutely fantastic, but they're very well-rounded. So Ramondre Stevenson, Travion Henderson, you got to give them opportunities and plenty of opportunities for the wide receivers like Stephon Diggs and the others. Like Mac Hollins and Hunter Henry, some of the names may not be the biggest names, but again, they play really, really well in this system. And again, to be able to win only 3-4 games last year and win 14 this year, you definitely have seen the big improvements, with certain coaches. And again, there's a few teams that ended up getting their hearts ripped out this weekend, but again, they will be back. Travion Henderson up the middle, loss of 1. Great tackle there by Tony Jefferson coming up on the blitz as a safety. 2nd down and 11 at the New England 7. And so far in this first quarter, I'm a little shocked. I did not think the Charger defense would be this active this early. And again, they're going to have to get sacks, pressures, picks, and fumbles if you're going to beat New England on the road. Play action. May steps up in the pocket. Tip, get it! Yo, get it! Picked. There it is on cue. Just like I said, pressures, sacks, picks, fumbles, And 5 seconds later, there you go. The tip goes into the air, intercepted. Dayan Henley, the linebacker. I love it, baby. And I guess the sports gods are listening to the broadcast. That ESP is on point. And again, they've been flying around here early. They need to be able to get their hands on the football. They need to get pressure on Drake May. And again, normally when the Patriots start a game, they score 9 times out of 10 with a field goal or a touchdown. So a little shocking that they weren't able to, move the ball down the field and had to punt so early. And again, tipped up into the air. Great awareness here by the Charger players, even though Derwin James should have had that pick. But luckily, Henley was right there. And, we might have another upset brewing on our hands. We know New England is great, but again, this is Drake May's first playoff game. And Justin Herbert's been to the playoffs quite a few times, but he hasn't really been able to get a victory. Let's see if this is going to be the day. Shotgun set for the Oregon quarterback. Herbert steps up in the pocket and gets shoestring tackled from behind by Craig Woodson, the safety. 2nd and goal at the New England 6. I'm just loving the way that the playoffs are playing out. I don't think anyone anticipated so many close, even games. And to me, like I said, this is probably the best start to a playoff weekend I've ever seen. And I've been watching football since like 85. So again, this has been a long time coming. And there's a reason why we love the NFL as much as we do. There's a lot of parity. And even though records, are great for the regular season to get into the dance, sometimes those records go out the window in the playoffs, and we've seen that here this weekend. Shotgun set on 2nd and goal, and Herbert just trying to find a lane on the outside and runs into 3 Patriots. Jack Gibbons, the first linebacker for the Pats. 3rd and goal at the New England 3. We'll see if they utilize the tight ends as often as New England typically does as well. Ladd McConkey obviously is an option, and again, we will see. They have to make sure they get Ladd going early and often, not waiting into the 3rd or 4th quarter when they're down to be able to get him going. But again, they have a very well-balanced offense, even though the names at running back may not be as good as they've had in the past, like Eckler, but we will see what they do here on 3rd and goal. Herbert scrambling and taken down by Marcus Jones. Nobody was open, so again, that was the right call. You don't want to throw a bad interception there. And even though, they want 6, send the field goal unit out, take the 3. You got a turnover, and again, you want to make sure you're getting points. Don't get greedy, Harbaugh. Don't turn into Chip Kelly. Take the points with Dicker, the kicker. 4th and goal at the New England 2. Now, if you ended up running like a tush push with Herbert, they could score, but I don't really think that you need to do that at the moment. And they're going to go for it, or at least try to get them to jump off sides for an automatic first down. Trips right. And they're going for it. Herbert throws into the end zone and complete. Take the points. And again, Harbaugh being greedy. Again, if you're going to run a play against New England, you don't throw the ball. You run a tush push right up the middle, right, with Herbert. Sometimes, it makes you kind of scratch your head. With a quarterback that big, right, the only play you call is a tush push with Herbert and then maybe run the ball up the middle if you're going to take that chance with like Vidal. I would not be throwing. There's no scenario that you throw the ball there. And again, you leave points on the board. And again, a lot of times when you end up doing that, you end up losing. It ends up coming back and biting you, especially if the Patriots end up winning this game by 3. We're going to remember that missed opportunity here early on. Now, obviously, they're going to be backed up on their own 2-yard line, and there's still an opportunity for the Charger defense to get another interception, a safety, or a sack. But that nothing drives me more mad than being able to see teams like that leave points on the board. Again, that should have been an easy 3-0 lead, to give the defense a little bit of a W for that interception off that tip pass. But New England skates away free, at least early here, 0-0 with 5:12 left in the first quarter. Showtime in the building. What's good? Brett in the building. What's good? Yeah, and again, it just seems like it's a trend now with college coaches and NFL coaches, and sometimes it's not even, in their persona to be this overly aggressive. And you've seen how the games have, been decided this wild card weekend. Every game has been decided almost on the last play. So if you know that coming into the game, don't be a fucking idiot and go for a pass. If you would have went for a tush push or you ran it up the middle and you didn't get it, we still would be complaining, but at least that would have been the better call, rather than throwing the football there on fourth down. And again, Dicker, the kicker, that's the only option. Even though Herbert might be 6'6", 6'7", and one of those guys that can actually get a yard or two by just leaning forward, take the points. Nothing makes me more frustrated in sports, when you have teams that do dumb shit like that, especially when it came off of a turnover. You're not going to get a lot of turnovers on Drake May and this New England team, and you want to make sure you make them pay every single time that happens, which is not going to be often. So we will see if that ends up biting them. On the flip side, they are on the 2-yard line. So there is a chance for a safety, an interception, a 3 and out, and then you end up getting the punt at the 50, and then you're going to be in field goal range after a first down or 2. But, that's neither here nor there. We're talking about that particular play. Dicker, the kicker, is not a guy that's not reliable. He can make a kick, that close, and it should be 3-0 Chargers, and we'll see if New England can make Los Angeles pay for, being a little overly aggressive. And we saw, obviously, the Bears and Ben Johnson be overly aggressive in that first half, and they were down 21-3. He wasn't as aggressive in the second half, and then what happened? They ended up coming back and winning and scoring 25 in the fourth quarter, which was fucking insane. Drake May, short middle. Ramondre Stevenson. He's going. Go. Wow. 48-yard pass. And that's what happens when you get greedy on one side of the ball. Then New England makes you pay on the first play. First down, Patriots. And that's almost like karma giving a slap to Harbaugh right in the face. You were stupid. You should have went with Dicker, the kicker. Vrabel and McDaniels dialed it up. Ramondre Stevenson doing Ramondre Stevenson things. First down, Patriots. Nice job there by Drake May going to his dog, Ramondre Stevenson. That was beautiful. First down and 10 now at the 50. No safety, no interception, no fumbles. You don't got to worry about that now. Hand off to Travion Henderson, my favorite rookie running back in this class. Nice 5-yard gain. Henley and Jackson with the tackle there for the Chargers. Second down and 5 at the Chargers 45. Yeah, love me some Travion Henderson. I mean, the speed that he has, obviously a little bit faster than Ramondre Stevenson, but, Ramondre's a little bit bigger, of a back, but definitely very capable of running away from a defense. Drake May scrambling towards that left side, getting about 4 yards, just short of the first down marker. Third down and 1 at the Chargers 41. Dayton Henley has been fucking everywhere for the Chargers at linebacker so far in this game. I mean, there are going to be times where you leave points on the board and you still win, but most of the time, I would probably say 90% of the time, if you leave a couple field goals on the board, most of the time it does come back to bite you and you end up losing, ironically, usually by that amount, by 3 or 6 points, depending on how many times you left those field goals on the board and got a little bit greedy. Ramondre Stevenson up the middle, nice 5-yard gain. Henley with another tackle. God, he's everywhere. First down, Patriots. Move the chains. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. Charger defense has been absolutely phenomenal. To start off the game, they end up getting the turnover. They get down to the 2. They go for it on fourth down. They throw the football. Turnover on downs. Patriots with a big receiving catch by Ramondre Stevenson. And now they're going back and forth with Ramondre and obviously Travion Henderson. And again, I assume that they're going to be very heavily running the football. And eventually that'll open up the tight ends and wide receivers to make the big play for Drake May as his game develops. Nice 6-yard run off that right side. Delshon Phillips, the linebacker for the Chargers with the tackle. Second down and 4 at the Chargers 30. Shotgun set. May going short right to Stephon Diggs. Incomplete. Third down and 4 at the Chargers 30. And again, you may be a fan of Diggs, you may not. There's always going to be kind of drama with him off the field. But one thing is for sure, whatever team that he's on, he makes that quarterback that much better. Whether it's Kirk Cousins in the Minneapolis Miracle or any quarterback that they've had at that moment, going to obviously the Buffalo Bills where Josh Allen really wasn't a name yet. And then Diggs made him a name. And now Josh Allen's the best quarterback in the league. And then now you've seen, what he's been able to do for Drake May. And I remember when Diggs ended up signing with New England, after they were coming off only winning 3-4 games the previous year. And it was kind of a head scratcher to me, but it definitely makes sense now. And again, I know Josh McDaniels is very happy that Diggs is there helping, obviously, his, future of the New England Patriots, Drake May, do his thing. 3rd down and 4. Let's see if the Chargers bring blitz. They're lining up as if they are. Shotgun set. And they have a trick play. He's open and overthrowing Drake May. And that was a little awkward in the, kind of execution there. Was kind of wondering what they were doing going backwards there, and it almost turned into something big. Chisholm there, passing complete to Drake May. 4th down and 4 at the Chargers 30. And again, there is a time and a place to get kind of cute, with trick plays. I'm not really sure if that was the time. Now, if the throw was better, yeah, that would have been a huge play, and I don't think May would have scored there, but definitely would have been a huge 1st down. And now 4th down and 4, and New England going for it. Shotgun set, May, Kyle Williams, 1st down, Patriots. And Kyle is going to be the deep threat, just like Jamison Williams is the deep threat for Jared Goff. And nice throw to the outside. 1st down, Patriots. But it's kind of crazy to see how many teams are so overly aggressive on 4th down. Again, I get it, going for it on 4th down and maybe like the 3rd or 4th quarter when you need to do it. But to be able to see so many of these teams not really respect the defenses they're playing against and going for it on 4th down often, on the 1st quarter and the 2nd quarter. I mean, I get it when you get college coaches doing it, but you wouldn't assume that would bleed over into the NFL. But I guess that's where we're at in 2026. No respect for the defenses. Offenses can do whatever the hell they want in their minds. Play action. May steps up. Uh-oh. It's 12 noon. You know what time it is. Time for a sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. Tui with the sack lunch. I see you. Loss of 8. Thule. 2nd down and 18 at the Chargers 31. And that's going to wind down, and that's going to be the end of the 1st quarter. 0-0 Chargers and Patriots. Nice throw there on 2nd down and 18. Getting that 1st down, and that obviously will end the quarter. And Chisholm making up for maybe that errant throw to Drake May, but he says, hey, you know what? I'll be able to get a 1st down for you. Nice gain. 1st down, Patriots. And they're knocking on the door as we go into the 2nd quarter. 1st down and 10 at the Charger 11. And it kind of feels we're just moments away from New England getting points. Will it be 3? Will it be 6? We'll wait and we'll find out. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. All right, we're at 17 likes with almost 50 in the room. Let's see if we can get a few of y'all to smash that like button while we're here in the commercial break. Let's get it, baby. But it's been a joy to be able to watch the development of Drake May, Ramondre Stevenson, mentoring Travion Henderson, fantastic running back duo. Stephon Diggs, always doing Stephon Diggs things on and off the field. And again, Justin Herbert needs to have one of the best games of his season. Ladd McConkey has to step up, and maybe we get a little bit of magic from the OG Keenan Allen before this game is all said and done. End of the 1st quarter, 0-0 Chargers and Patriots. And hopefully this will come down to the 4th quarter. Don't know if it'll end up being whoever has the ball last or last possession, to be able to decide the game like every other game so far, in this playoff run. But again, it's been maybe the best start, in the wild card era that we've seen maybe ever. I'm trying to remember, a more exciting start to the playoffs. And, I can't think of really a time or a year that it was, like this, especially when you get teams that you don't expect to keep up. Like the Panthers, that kind of set the tone when they almost beat the Rams. And honestly, if they didn't go against Matthew Stafford, potentially the NFL MVP, either him or May, but I think Stafford has earned the spot, to be MVP this year. If it was any quarterback but him or maybe Josh Allen, maybe the Panthers end up stealing it. But again, it does show you the development of the quarterbacks. It's nice to be able to see Bryce Young make plays, Trevor Lawrence, being able to be a better quarterback, starting to live up to that number one pick status. Caleb Williams has still got a long ways to go. He's still not a top 10 quarterback, but as long as he has Ben Johnson there and they keep improving the O-line and the running backs and the wide receivers and the tight ends, you would assume at some point, Caleb will turn into a top 10 or top 12 quarterback. Right now, he might be, top 16, top 18. Sometimes plays like a top 10, but most of the time he plays like a top 20. Still makes too many mistakes. And again, we'll see his progression as well. But beating the Packers last night, that was wild. May steps up in the middle and goes to the sideline, gains about 2, second down and 8 at the Chargers 9. Yeah, beautiful game, and again, the thing that really was amazing to me that the Jags didn't give up a 100-yard rusher all year. I've never heard of that. And honestly, they didn't give up any rusher more than 75 yards all season on the ground. So normally when you have a stat like that, you think, oh, the Jags are going to have a really good chance to win going against Cook. But the flip side, the Bills probably have one of the best secondaries this season. And that ended up being the deciding factor with the tip and the pick. Ramondre Stevenson with a 4-yard gain off that left side. Henley with another tackle for the Chargers. I feel like I've said his name almost on every defensive play in the first quarter and the second quarter here. Shotgun set and short left incomplete. And let's see if New England and Josh McDaniels are going to be like Harbaugh and be greedy and go for it on fourth down, or if they're going to be smart and take the 3-0 lead. Almost exact same type of position that the Chargers were in the first quarter. It's 4th down and 4, not 4th down and 2, but I mean, you're still, within the first 5 yards. Be smart, take the points. And Josh McDaniels and Vrabel are smart. They're going to take the points. And field goal unit is coming out. Borregales, 84%, 27 for 32. Kick is up and good. Finally, we get someone to be able to play some smart football, take the points while they're there. The game should be 3-3. Hell, the game could be decided by 3 points if the Chargers step up, but again, they already left 3 on the board. Should be 3-3, but it's 3-0. And let's see if the Chargers will be able to get some points on their next drive. .32 left in the second quarter. 3-0 Patriots. And we obviously assume, the Patriots are going to win this game. They would play the winner of the Texans and the Steelers. And if you're the Patriots, you're probably rooting for the Steelers to win because that would be an easier matchup to advance to the AFC Championship game. If you play the Texans, there is a chance that you could lose that game, especially with the best D-line in football with Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr., both over 10 sack lunches apiece. That is not really a team that you want to be facing, in the divisional round. And then obviously, if that ends up happening and New England advances, that means the Bills play the Broncos. And I know Bronco fans are not happy if the Patriots win and they have to go against Buffalo, definitely a very difficult path for the Broncos. If they want to be able to make it to the Super Bowl, essentially they would have to beat, the Bills in the divisional round and then potentially the Patriots in the AFC championship game. So, I know Josh Allen single-handedly can carry a team on his back. He's done it many, many times. Are we going to end up getting the Seahawks and the Rams in the NFC championship game? That depends if they end up beating the Niners and the Bears. And then again, if the Patriots win this game, they'll take on the Chargers, or they'll take on the Texans or the Steelers, winner of that game tomorrow. And then you'll have the, obviously, matchup of the Bills and the Broncos next week. So, it could end up being Broncos Patriots or Bills Patriots. So it definitely is starting to look very sexy as we're starting to, progressively move forward. Not to say that the Niners, the Bears, Texans, Steelers, or Bills, can't win. Obviously, those teams can win, especially Buffalo. They're going to be the, best team going in, as far as, going against an opponent that had a bye and whatnot. But again, it's going to be very exciting to see how it all plays out. And, there definitely is about, 4 or 5 teams that could end up going all the way. And again, we've had a very wild start to the AFC, NFC wildcard weekend. Facts. Borregales kicks 59 yards. And Darius Davis with a decent return there of 22 yards. That's going to be first down and 10 at the Chargers 28 for Justin Herbert, Ladd McConkey, Keenan Allen, and company. Judah in the building. What's good? Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't really be as worried with this game. It would be if the Texans beat the Steelers tomorrow, that would be the game that I would be worried about. But again, we got to wait to, see if you guys can get past the Chargers first, which I assume you will. But again, we'll find out. No one was expecting a tipped interception, but they didn't even take advantage of it when they did. Omari and Hampton there off that left side. Loss of 1. Craig Woodson, the safety, coming up and making the tackle for the Pats. Second down and 11 at the Chargers 27. Plus, when it ends up being the AFC, NFC championship game, I want to see the best. Give me Seahawks, Rams. Give me that matchup, and give me, New England and Buffalo or New England, Denver. That's what I want to see, and I think a lot of fans want to see that as well. Ladd McConkey, man in motion on second down and 11. And there he is, Herbert, McConkey, beautiful pass. Nice yak yards there for Ladd, the Georgia Bulldog product. First down, Chargers, bolt up, move the chains. Jones there with the tackle. And again, nice play call there for the Chargers. First down and 10 at the Charger 47. Yeah, but the Eagles really weren't as good as they were last year. They were, assuming they were good enough to beat the Niners, especially when Kittle had the Achilles. But it definitely shows you how good, Kyle Shanahan and Robert Saleh are as a group, with the no-name defense, winning on the road, And again, the Eagles definitely weren't very good on offense this year. When they had Saquon and they won the Lombardi last year, they were top 5 in on almost every offensive category. This year, they were like top 20 in some of their categories on offense. So, that's a big part of it, right? We knew the defense and special teams were good for Philly, but, I'm not too surprised. It is the first upset that we've had so far, but again, especially with Kittle going down, I don't think that they have that much of a chance against Seattle. But again, that's why we play these games. Second down and 8, shotgun set. Herbert short left to Keenan Allen, the OG. First down, Chargers. Move the chains. Jones there with the coverage and the tackle there for New England. First down and 10 at the New England 43. But we're going to get Seahawks-Niners in a rematch, which is going to be great. And then you're going to get Rams-Bears, which will be intriguing. And then, again, depending on if the Patriots win, they'll get the winner of the Texans-Steelers tomorrow. And then it would be Buffalo and Denver. And I think that's kind of how we want to see it line up. Yeah, but again, it happens to a lot of teams. Look at the Packers. They were up 21-3, and they ended up losing, right? So, you got to make sure you get the job done, and the Bears scored 25 in the fourth quarter. So, again, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. 10-yard run there by Kamani Vidal. First down, Chargers. Move the chains. First down and 10 at the New England 33. And again, we saw how good Jordan Love and obviously, how that offense was flowing with Watson and Reed. Every single receiver, as well as Romeo Doubs got in the end zone, all three of those receivers. But then in the second half, the defense, kind of came alive, and, the Bears were sloppy and made a lot of mistakes, but they had a lot of heart and got the job done. Shotgun set. 7-yard pass there from Herbert to Tucker Fisk, one of the other not really well-known tight ends there in the league. Second down and 3 at the New England 26. Yeah, but also if you've been watching these playoffs, every game up to this point has come down to like the last fucking possession. So regardless if you have a lead or not in the fourth quarter, games have been going back and forth, especially in the fourth with lead changes. So got about 10 minutes left here in the second quarter in a low-scoring affair. New England up 3-0. Should be 3-3 after the Chargers got a tipped interception and got greedy on 4th and 2 on the goal line and decided to throw the football and got nothing. Let's see if they get points on this drive. I assume they will, with Dicker the kicker. Got a flag on the play. We'll see if this is holding on the offensive line or illegal motion. Run up the middle by Vidal, but let's see if this ends up coming back, or is it a face mask? Yeah, face mask, it looks like. Yeah, big one too. Twisted the hell out of it. Unless it's offsetting, that might be the only thing New England can hope for. Personal foul, face mask. So Vidal got a 3-yard run for the first down, and then add on a few more yards on top of that. And now that's going to put the football in really good position here for Justin Herbert and Harbaugh. First down and 10 at the New England 11. Now, but this is the best start to the NFL playoffs maybe in the last 20 years. I cannot remember a better start where, it's going down to the wire on pretty much every game. And, you really have the Panthers and Rams to thank for that, to kind of set the tone when everyone thought the Rams would blow out the Panthers, and they hung tough, and that kind of set the tone and foreshadowed how this playoffs was going to go. Handoff up the middle to Kamani Vidal, another 3-yard run. Ellis and Landry with the tackle. They got a lot of studs on that New England defense, let me tell you. Second down and 7 at the New England 8. Love me some Christian Gonzalez, one of the best corners in the game. But they got a lot of good players up front and a lot of linebackers that like to fly around. I would not be shocked if they end up getting a tipped interception themselves on Justin Herbert at some point in this game. Second down and 7 at the New England 8. Herbert under center, short right to Tucker Fisk. And that's going to be third down and 2 after that 5-yard pass from Herbert. If Fisk wasn't so awkward out there, he could have walked into the end zone and kind of tripped over himself. Third down and 2 at the New England 3. All right, big play here for the Chargers. Obviously already in field goal range, and again, let's see what they decide to do. Lad McConkey, that's where I would be going. Handoff up the middle. Ain't going to get it there. New England already knew that was coming. Take the points now. 4th down and 2. No gain for Vidal, and obviously the Chargers had Omarion Hampton and Najee Harris. Najee got hurt very early in the year. Omarion Hampton missed a lot of time throughout the season. Vidal is RB3, trying to be RB1, but not good enough. Kick is up by Dicker the kicker, and it is good. Now if the Chargers would have had prime Eckler, that's kind of what they're needing, and they assume that Omarion Hampton will be that guy. But again, injuries have kind of held him back slightly this season. 6:52 left. in a very close matchup, defensive-oriented game. New England's got the D. Chargers bringing the D early as well, which is a little shocking. 3-3 here early with 6:52 left in the second quarter. And there will be touchdowns scored in the second half. You best believe that. But again, a defensive matchup here early on the last matchup here on Sunday night. AFC wild card game, 3-3, Chargers and Patriots. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. We need 17 to get to 23,400. We'll be doing the Texans and the Steelers tomorrow. And then obviously, since football is starting to wind down, we got the Natty on the following Monday. So normally now, on Monday through Friday, there's going to be openings. So we'll be doing some NHL with the Seattle Kraken. We'll be doing some NBA on the main primetime matchups on ESPN and on Prime. I might be able to mix in a Blazer game here and there, depending on if they're on one of those networks. And then again, we're still waiting for NASCAR to kind of get going. We might be able to mix in something WWE. And I'm always open to the idea of a freestyle stream where we just stream for a couple hours and we talk about whatever, whatever it may be, whether it be the MLB, the Mariners, baseball, basketball, football, hockey, or if we want to talk about sports, music, whatever it may be. So again, we're definitely going to have a few open days, between now and March. The first spring training game for the Mariners is on February 20th, but I don't know if it'll be televised. But between now and February 20th, we're going to have to start, pumping out some NBA and NHL for some filler streams. And I'm definitely excited to be able to do that as well. 3-3 Chargers and Patriots. Good drive there for Justin Herbert, Ladd McConkey, and Keenan Allen. And, should be 6-3 Los Angeles. But again, it is what it is. And we'll see what Drake May can do here with 6:52 left before halftime. They're going to continue to run the ball heavily with Ramondre Stevenson and Travion Henderson, one of the nice duo groups, one of the better duo groups in the NFL. It may not be Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, but it's pretty close. Stephon Diggs, we still haven't seen him make the big play yet. But again, we still got a lot of time to go. And I'm definitely looking forward to that Texans-Steeler game tomorrow. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. Yeah, I did see Bregman go to the Cubs. That's a big pickup for them. And we'll see where Bo Bichette ends up landing. Still an opportunity for him to go back to Toronto, but it kind of feels like he's going to join a new team. Unless he's willing to take less money and go back to Toronto. You got to assume Toronto will be a World Series contender next year and beyond. As long as they don't have any major injuries. Dicker the kicker, 64-yard kick. Chisholm with a nice 26-yard return. First down and 10 at the New England 27. Marine Bean at 5:58 said we're at 21. Let's see if we can get to 50 here before halftime. Shotgun set, May, short middle to Travion Henderson, my favorite rookie running back. Nice 9-yard gain. Perryman and Molden there with the tackle for the Chargers. Second down and 1 at the New England 36. And, the way that Travion Henderson runs, as long as he can stay, for the most part, injury-free, I think he should be the RB1. And Ramondre Stevenson should be the change of pace back RB2. Obviously they're interchangeable, but I think if you give more touches to Travion Henderson, he's going to come up with more big plays, and he can actually run away for the defense and give you those bigger 30, 40, 50-yard touchdowns. Not to say that Ramondre Stevenson can't. He is capable of doing that once in a while, but it feels like, based on what we've seen with Henderson in his rookie season, he can do it pretty frequently. Nice 3-yard run by Drake May up the middle. Hart with the tackle. Chargers D tackle. First down and 10 at the New England 39. Move the chains. Hand off to Travion Henderson, going towards that right side off the guard. Getting about 3 yards there. Second down and 7 at the New England 42. Owe, the linebacker, there with the tackle. Both of these teams love to run the football. Both of these teams, like to try to play defense. New England typically does it with Vrabel. Harbaugh and this Charger team, they try, and most of the time they're unsuccessful, but, they're, a little bit better than maybe we've seen in the last couple years. And, again, they have had issues at coaching. They don't have that issue anymore. They have injuries with, the defense pretty frequently, and obviously a little bit of a letdown from the defense over the years. But could this be the year that they step up? We'll find out. Drake May scrambling towards that right side there on play action, and Henley chasing him there and sliding in for that first down. First down, Patriots. First down and 10 at the 50. And again, when they run the football with Travion Henderson and Ramondre Stevenson, eventually that's going to get the defense to come up, and then they have one-on-one on the outside. Then they can go with play action and go deep on a go route or a stop and go or a post to someone like Kyle Williams, and then he'll be open for the touchdown, or someone like a Stephon Diggs or a Mac Hollins. They have plenty of guys that have that speed to be able to get behind the defense. And the tight ends will be used more in the second half, I believe, with Hunter Henry and company as well. Drake May, blitz off the edge, and incomplete. Got to keep an eye on Derwin James no matter, where he lines up on the field. You always got to keep your eye on him. Derwin's going to come in from the left side, the right side. They'll move him around. And again, a very athletic body that can, get a hand on the football, can get fumbles, can get picks. Had quite a few injuries in his career, but again, a stud. No doubt about that. Second down and 10, man in motion. May, throw to the outside, and Booty with the catch. 4-yard pass from May to Booty. Third down and 6 at the Chargers 45. I would be nervous too if you're a Steeler fan, Jacob, because, you got the home field advantage. The terrible towels will be out, but the Texan defense, especially that D-line, that's going to be an interesting thing to see if Aaron Rodgers is actually going to be able to run away or be able to make enough plays against Will Anderson Jr. and Danielle Hunter. I assume that'll be a very close game tomorrow. Third down and 5. Drake May, short left to Ramondre Stevenson. What happened to my hands? Incomplete. Wasn't the greatest throw there by May. And that's going to be 4th down and 6 at the Charger 45. And this is a little odd. Normally when we watch New England, they move the ball down the field almost at will against anybody. Usually it's, 7 points here, 3 points here, another 7, another 3. It's very rare, to be able to see, a team stop them, this season. They're 14-3 for a reason, but I don't know what the Chargers ate for breakfast today, but they definitely are competing on a higher level on that defensive side of the ball than I think anyone anticipated. And on top of that, they're on the road. It's not like this game is in Los Angeles. Nice punt there by New England and Behringer. 37-yard punt. Now it's going to be 1st down and 10, and the Chargers will be starting at, looks like, the 8-yard line. All right, we're at 24 likes, 65 in the room. If we can get some of the mods and the regulars to help me out, that'd be greatly appreciated. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train, and 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. Gained a few subs since the last commercial break. Shout out to those 2 individuals so far. Now we only need 15 subs to get to 23,400. TJ in the building, what's good? And we know TJ will be able to help out getting our numbers up, and hopefully with some of the other regulars, we'll be able to pitch in on that as well. 3:23 left in the second quarter, 3-3 Chargers and Patriots. So I assume, we got the Texans and Steelers, tomorrow. And then as we go into Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we'll either be doing Kraken for the NHL or NBA games. And, I do know that the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Spurs are going to be going at it in a couple days, so that potentially could be something we could do. I'm not sure if all the superstars are going to be playing in that game with like Wemby and SGA and Chet and company. I know a few of them are going to be game time decisions, but I'm definitely looking forward to seeing some action on that side, as well as the Blazers. And then with the Seattle Kraken, they've been very good this year, and again, they look like a playoff team, and we haven't done a broadcast of them this year yet, but we'll definitely be tapping into that for January and February. Just kind of filler streams, for NHL, NBA, WWE, and NASCAR as we wait, until the baseball season starts. And then once baseball starts, we'll be doing that pretty much every day. .323 left in the second quarter. 3-3 Chargers and Patriots. Play action there by Herbert. And ball comes out. And who has it? Are they going to rule that a fumble, or is that incomplete? It's crazy how big Herbert is and how strong he is. Sometimes he'll have a guy or two, towards his feet or his legs. And he's got a good upper body strength and lower body, and again, a lot of times when guys would immediately go down, Herbert still can find a way to try to make a play, but probably should have just took the sack there. But it looks like they're going to call incomplete pass. They got incredibly lucky there. Second down and 10 at the Chargers 8. Gadsden still looking for a big play. Keenan Allen still looking for a big play. We know Ladd McConkey can make those plays. And let's see if the New England defense will step up here before half. Shotgun set. New England bringing 4. Herbert bouncing out of the pocket. Nice vision. Nice pass there. Keenan Allen, the OG. And that's going to be first down, Chargers. Move the chains. Justin Herbert going to the OG, Keenan Allen. He may not be as good as he was years ago, but still a guy once in a while, that can, move the chains, and once in a while will be able to get in the end zone to help their team win. For a number of years, Keenan Allen was a top 10 wide receiver, and obviously age is, crept up a little bit. Father Time is undefeated, but again, a good addition to have him come back to the team, and I know he's happy to be there. Shotgun set, Herbert, short left to Kamani Vidal, and a nice 9-yard gain. Ellis with the tackle for the New England Patriots. Second down and 1 at the Charger 27. And I'm really hoping some of those Mariner games in February that are in spring training are televised. And then we still have to wait and find out, how much it's going to cost to be able to watch the Mariners this year. If you have T-Mobile, it might be free, based off their package, if they end up giving you the MLB package for free, which they've done the last couple years. And I do have T-Mobile, so I'm actually kind of hoping that I can get it for free. I mean, if I have to pay 10 or 20 a month, I will, but, I would rather get it for free if I could. All right, we're down to the 2-minute warning. Second down and 1 at the Chargers 27. TJ, have you got a chance to listen to the Untitled app in a minute? Brooks is starting to pump out, some new things. And again, I'll be able to debut, some new music on the channel in the next couple days and whatnot. But he's definitely letting his creativity flow wild. And it's just great to be able to see someone that has that type of creativity and that ear for music and beats and whatnot. And, again, we're going to have a lot to be able to cycle through, as we go into this end of the football season and we transition into baseball and beyond. Two-minute warning, 3-3. Should be 6-3 Chargers, especially with the game, being so close, but again, we'll find out if that 3 points that was left on the board by the Chargers that went for it on 4th down and 2 off a tipped interception on May. And we'll see if that comes back to bite them or not. I'm kind of getting a little sad that we're, getting this NFL and college football season is, almost wrapped up. I mean, we only got the Natty left for college football, the Miami Hurricanes and the Indiana Hoosiers, and that'll be next Monday. I assume Indiana will win that pretty easily. But again, it's been a great college football season overall. And the playoffs are just starting here on the NFL. Probably the best opening wildcard weekend ever, with almost every game coming down to the last possession, which is crazy. Maybe this will be another game that will come down to the last possession or whoever has the ball last. A little shocking that, the Patriots aren't up by more. But again, the Charger defense stepped up today, are matching the energy of New England. And again, 3-3. I would assume before the game is over, we'll have a pretty good chance of at least one team getting to 20 or close to 20. But you never know how it might, play out. It could end up being, trying to look at the score here, 7-10, 17. It could end up being like a 17-13 final, possibly, but hopefully we get a few more touchdowns by both teams in the second half. But defenses have been impressive up to this point, and I'm a defensive-oriented fan, so I love defense, but I don't really like 3-3, 6-3, 9-6 games. I want to be able to see the defense play well, but I also want to be able to see the offense score points or the defense or special teams. Give me a complete game. 2nd down and 1. Handoff up the middle to Kamani Vidal, who's their RB3, over Omarion Hampton and Najee Harris, who obviously is not available. No gain. Christian Ellis is a beast. Nice tackle there for New England. 3rd down and 1 at the Chargers 27. And they run the ball with Herbert up the middle. No gain. Christian Barmore, another stud for them with the tackle. 4th down and 1 at the Charger 27. And Chargers should punt here. Don't be stupid. TJ with the tour. Appreciate you. Stacks. Brax with a little Cactus Jack. Bang, bang. Appreciate you. $2 holla on the Dono train. Appreciate you. 98 to go. And we got some good support on yesterday's stream by multiple individuals stepping up, and Odin coming in and the clutch, Reflect and a few others, Jolly as well, Minnie. We had definitely a very good, dono day and support day yesterday. And I think we'll be able to have something maybe not as similar as yesterday, but I know we'll get a few others to be able to show some love as well. All right, the booth review call is upheld, and that's going to be 4th down and 1, and I assume the Chargers are going to be punting here momentarily. AFC wild card madness. 3-3 Chargers and Patriots. Probably the first game out of all the wild card games that's this low scoring, where it's been a defensive battle. A tipped interception by the Chargers, but it didn't come up with any points. But again, I do feel that the strategies will be changed, and they're going to let these guys throw the football a little bit more in the second half. And again, both of these teams kind of mirror each other to a certain degree. They both like to run the football, effectively and often if they can, and then let the passing game kind of open up based on what the running game does first. They typically aren't going to just be throwing the ball wild and then trying to integrate the run later. These teams like to run and play good defense. We know Harbaugh has been doing that with the Niners, the Michigan Wolverines, and now the Chargers. And the Patriots, they're just a team that has great balance. Offense, defense, special teams. You got 2 studs at running back and Ramondre Stevenson and Travion Henderson. So why not run the ball with those guys? Drake May, probably top 2 in MVP voting with Stafford, has been very efficient. We haven't seen Matt Collins. We haven't seen Diggs and Booty make the big play. We've seen him make a catch here and there. Hunter Henry still not involved in the offense just yet. And again, you got Kyle Williams, the deep threat, which I assume at some point, maybe in the early third quarter, that they'll go play action and go deep. And again, if you go deep to Hollins, Diggs or Kyle Williams, there's a very good chance they're going to come up with the football and score. Very good hands, very good route runners. And again, some of those guys like Matt Collins, might be more of like a role player, but you get them the ball in the right situation, they could end up being a big X factor. All right, looks like with the booth review, the call is overturned, and they're going to give them the first down. Wow. Because originally they said that it was going to be fourth down. I guess they're obviously negotiating the spot here on the field. And now they're showing the replay of the officials here. So first they said it was stopped and it was a stop, and now they're saying that they got the first down. Shotgun set, Herbert, short right to Keenan Allen, who's got a few catches here today. Pettis there with the tackle. 2nd down and 3 at the Chargers 35. I got to do the work of two people. I got to do play-by-play, I got to do color, and I like symmetry. Less than a minute to go here before halftime. 3-3 Chargers and Patriots. Shotgun set. It's 12 noon. You know what time it is. Time for a sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. Big sack lunch there on Herbert. Defense coming alive for the New England Patriots. And timeout, New England. I mean, for me, it's always about attention to detail. I'm never copying any other streamer. I don't watch anybody else's streams. Everything is original. Everything is detailed, and everything is thought out. Big sack there on Herbert. 3rd down and 11 now at the Charger 27. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. Plus, when you end up having multiple screens up, depending on where I'm looking and how many TVs and how many screens and games and things that I got going on, if I look one way or another way, we want to make sure that everyone can hear instead of having only one mic. And then if you're looking in the opposite direction, you may not be able to pick it up. So it's for the fans. Herbert steps up in the pocket and goes down again. 12 noon. You know what time it is. Time for another sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. And that's going to be 4th down and 15. Offensive line starting to collapse for New England here right before half. And Drake May will have an opportunity here with the 2-minute drill with about 41 seconds left to see if they can get a field goal or a touchdown to take the lead. All right, J.K. Scott here about to punt. Marcus Jones waiting in the wings. 33-yard punt, 2-yard return, and tackle there by Harris. And that's going to be 1st down and 10 at the New England 46. So going to give them a good opportunity for Borregales to be able to get a long field goal, unless May decides to test the corners and safeties deep, which you could potentially do. You go and test them deep at least once, with Matt Collins or Kyle Williams or Stephon Diggs, and you might be able to get a touchdown out of this drive. Shotgun set, May, short middle to Stephon Diggs, and complete. 2nd down and 10 at the New England 46. I don't know if I really have a favorite color. I mean, I follow a few different types of teams that have different color schemes. Buccaneers and Blazers have a similar red and black, type of theme. But I would probably say, because I'm a big Mariner fan, obviously a lot of the shades of the Mariner blue that they rock and like City Connect and whatnot. And I do like green apple for the Ducks and whatnot as well. So I'm not really sure if I have a favorite, but, I think green and blue, I would probably say, based on the Mariners and the Ducks. And Drake May taking off right up the middle. Look at him scramble. Wow. Drake May showing the speed. Elijah Molden trying to catch up. 37-yard run there by Drake May. And this might end up being a touchdown for the Patriots. Big play. And again, you're going to be able to need Justin Herbert to do the same at some point in the second half. Wow. Good awareness there by Drake May. You see them in man. You see that big hole open up. You take off and you run and you go. And obviously nobody up the field. Everyone, obviously, chasing down a wide receiver or tight end down the field. Timeout, New England. Shotgun set. Drake going deep and complete. Second down and 10 at the Chargers 17. Got no timeouts for New England, so you can't throw in the middle of the field. You got to throw towards the sideline. And throws it to the back of the end zone on that first down throw. To Mario Douglas, another receiver, that can end up making a big play. And obviously, if you're Los Angeles here, you're hoping for a turnover or holding them to 3. Shotgun set, May, short right, and complete. Third down and 10 at the Chargers 17. It's been a defensive battle so far here in the first half. Again, I like the decision-making by Drake May on those first 2 plays. Limited clock, nothing there. Just take the points. And with only 6 seconds left, they don't want to test, having it come down to 1 second left or no time left. So they decided to bring out the kicker here on 3rd down instead of 4th down. And with Borregales being pretty accurate, should be 6-3 at half. Should it be 6-6 at half, if the Chargers were smart and didn't get greedy off that tipped interception earlier in the game. And the Chargers called timeout to try to ice the kicker. I don't really hate, a lot of other teams that are out there. Kick is up and good. 6-3 Patriots. But again, if you're a Mariner fan, you hate the Astros. If you're a Blazer fan, you hate the Lakers, for the most part. And then for me, obviously being in the NFC South, the Saints, and I don't have a whole lot of love towards Green Bay either with the Brett Favre, Warren Sapp era and whatnot. So I don't really think I have any teams that I have a lot of hate for. I have teams that I dislike and whatnot, and that's only natural when you have rivals. All right, we got 2 seconds left here before halftime. 6-3 New England, and we're moments away from half. And the nice thing about the NFL, halftime is usually only 12 and a half minutes, so we'll be right back in it. Dark Passenger in the building. What's good? The lowest scoring game so far, here in wild card weekend. But with that being said, I do think there's going to be much more scoring in the second half, and we will get a few touchdowns, hopefully from each team. And if there's anything that you want to be able to do photo-wise, TJ, you want JSN, you want Darnold, you want something Seahawk related to show some love for your team, let me know, and I'll be able to throw those up at halftime. Borregala's kick, 69 yards. Darius Davis with the return, about 25. And it's going to be first down and 10. And let's see where they're going to place it there. And they're going to say, it's halftime. Okay, there it is. 6-3, Patriots lead at half. Should be 6-6. And if the Chargers end up losing this game by 3, we're going to remember that 4th down and 2 at the 2-yard line where Herbert decided to throw the football and they got no points off that tipped interception. We'll start it off with some Seahawk love for TJ with the first dono. And I'm very excited about the Seahawks and the Niners getting a rematch in the playoffs, as well as the Rams and the Bears. Those are intriguing matchups. And then obviously if the Patriots win this game, they get the winner of tomorrow's game, which could be the Texans if they play well on the road, or the Steelers at home. And then obviously that means that you would get the Buffalo Bills versus the Denver Broncos, which would be a very lights out matchup. Niners beat the Seahawks week 1 when Seattle was just trying to figure their identity out, but obviously went into San Fran the last game of the regular season and, beat their ass. So it's going to be different story, obviously, with no George Kittle and now being at home. So, it definitely feels like it's leading towards a Seahawk-Rams NFC championship game. And then if the Patriots win this game, which I assume they will, then it could be Patriots-Bills or Patriots-Broncos in the AFC championship game. And, those have been the best teams up to this point throughout the year. 6-3 Patriot lead, and we only need 9 minutes to go. I mean, halftime is beautiful for NFL. College football, it's like 20 to 30 minutes. NFL, it's 12 minutes and 30 seconds. So, in a blink of an eye, go get a snack. Go grab some some refreshments or snacks in general, and we'll be right back in it for the second half here in just a couple minutes. (6-3) halftime lead for the Patriots. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. And the Chargers are going to receive the second half kickoff. Got to get Ladd McConkey more opportunities if the Chargers are going to compete and win. I'm going to go check up on my pup here real quick. And again, we only need, 7 minutes to go, and we'll be ready for the third quarter. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. Five minutes to go here before halftime is over. Chargers will be receiving the second half kickoff. (6-3) Patriot halftime lead. 3 minutes to go before kickoff. Chargers are going to receive the second half kickoff. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. Let them know. All right, we got about a minute to go before we get back into the action. 6-3 Patriots, a little bit low scoring, a lot of defense, not a lot of spectacular big plays. And, normally the Patriots just kind of manhandle whoever they go against. It's very rare to see them not get a touchdown, in the first half. But again, you got to give the Chargers credit. They came up big, for the most part. They left 3 on the board. But other than that, they played, very, very well. And, I assume that the offenses will be throwing the football a little bit more in the second half. Maybe New England will continue to, have that balance, but I assume the Chargers will start to not fade completely the running game, but at some point they're going to have to try to throw the football a little bit more down the field to try to even out this game. 6-3, New England with the halftime lead. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. I got some JSN for you, TJ, for your support. Definitely looking forward to Seahawks Niners again. Seattle will be rocking, let me tell you. All right, second half just about to start. Just waiting for the commercial to end and we should be good to go. I want to see Seahawks and Rams in the NFC Championship game. And, I want to see New England and Buffalo or New England and Denver. Obviously, Denver and Buffalo could go either way. And that's going to be a very difficult matchup, to say the least, to be able to get to the next round. And that is what we'll see if New England ends up winning this game. But again, New England would have to get past Houston if Houston beats Pittsburgh, and that won't be an easy task either. Houston could be one of those teams that could knock off New England. So first postseason game without a TD in the first half since the 2020 divisional, Ravens at the Bills. Yeah, Bears aren't going to be able to beat the Rams. I don't see any scenario. I mean, unless Stafford got hurt, that you're not beating a team like that. And if Seattle does what they're supposed to do, against the Niners with no George Kittle, we should see, the two best teams in the NFC for a majority of the year, excluding the Niners and Eagles, of course, with the Seahawks and Rams in the NFC Championship game. And, we'll see if we get the Texans or New England at the top bracket in the AFC, and then either Buffalo or Denver at the bottom. So. But it feels like the NFC is slightly deeper, because if Seattle makes the Super Bowl, you have to assume they're going to be the favorite. If the Rams make the Super Bowl, they're probably going to be the favorite as well. Not to say that the, Bills, Broncos, or Patriots can't win it all, or the Texans, but, they would be the underdog, you would assume. Borregales there with a 61-yard kick, and Jarrett Patterson there with a 28-yard return. First down and 10 at the Charger 32. Let's get some first downs and let's get some touchdowns on the board, baby. Handoff to Kamani Vidal, running towards that left tackle. 3-yard gain. Spillane and Gibbons, the tackle there for New England. Second down and 7 at the Charger 35. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. Herbert under center. Short right to Tucker Fisk. No gain. Jones with the tackle there for New England. 3rd down and 7 at the Charger 35. Need a more athletic tight end than fucking Tucker Fisk. Herbert's going to have to take off and use his legs like Drake May did in the first half. You know, if you can get 30 to 50 yards on the ground out of Herbert in the second half, that could be the difference between winning the game or not and extending a few of these drives. Shotgun set. Herbert going deep to Ladd McConkey. Incomplete. 4th down and 7 at the Charger 35. Good defense there by New England. Throwing to Ladd McConkey in double coverage, and this will turn into a punt. Big 3 and out there for the New England defense. Vrabel loves it. We'll see what we get out of Drake May on the first offensive drive for them here in the 3rd quarter. We'll get a lot of Ramondre Stevenson and then a lot of Travion Henderson, but we need to be able to see if they can get that ball down the field to Diggs and company. Demario Douglas, Hunter Henry, Kyle Williams, Mac Hollins. I mean, a lot of these guys haven't really been able to show what they fully can do just yet, but that is a credit to the Charger defense playing a little bit better than expected. That man in the building, what's good? Shotgun set. Drake May, short right to Ramondre Stevenson. Little check down. Nice yak yards for Ramondre. And that's going to be 1st down, Patriots. Move the chains. 1st down and 10 at the New England 29. I know that they've had a few, opinions, on how they're going to do it. I don't really know, if it'll be back like in the Nextel, era from back in the day. If it's going to be whoever scores the most points wins or, how they're going to go about it. But, I'm not really too sure. Your guess is as good as mine, that man. Handoff up the middle. And Ramondre Stevenson getting stuffed by Tier Tart, the defensive tackle for the Chargers. 2nd down and 10 at the New England 29. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm kind of an old soul, so I like vintage stuff. I like stuff from the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. Not to say that, sports cards that are, newer from 2000 to now, a lot of them that, have flashy designs and whatnot. But, I like that kind of vintage old school look. And, obviously we represent that not only with the NFL streams, but with the old school look for the baseball cards as well. NHL, NBA, same thing. And a nice pass to Hunter Henry at the sideline, finally getting involved. Jefferson with the tackle. 1st down, Patriots. Move the chains. Yeah, I think for me, when you have wins, that obviously is great, but, maybe, whoever scores the most points overall is the winner. That would probably be the most, fair, the consistency, even if that means that, the person that has the most points only has like one win, but if they, get the most top 5 or top 10 finishes, that should mean something, right? Instead of someone, with, 10 DNFs and they got like 4 wins, but then they end up being champion, so I feel like maybe points overall, the consistency of it all, that should probably be the deciding factor, at least in my eyes, but I don't know if NASCAR will see it the same way. 4-yard pass from May to Booty. Second down and 6 at the 50. Little hurry up here. And off to Travion Henderson and stuffed by Owe. No gain. Third down and 6 at the 50-yard line. Yeah, but I think consistency more than just overall wins. Because even if you end up having a lot of wins and then you get to the playoff, right, and then it comes down to like the last 4 drivers, sometimes the person that has the most wins doesn't even win the whole thing. So I mean, but you're not going to make everyone happy. There's always going to be people and fans that are going to bitch and moan that they want it the other way. So. $9:55 left here in the third quarter. 6-3 New England. May, shotgun set. Little check down to Ramondre Stevenson. Go, baby, go. Big yak yards there. Henley with the tackle. First down, Patriots. Move the chains. And Drake May knows that, I'm not going to force the ball downfield if I don't need to. He can go to Ramondre Stevenson and get some big yards. And again, usually teams that have the lead are going to run the football pretty heavily in the second half, even though that the Patriots are only up by 3 points. And if you're not going to run the football, you can go for, a little check down that could lead to a big yardage for them as well. First down and 10, shotgun set, going deep to Hunter Henry, and into double coverage, out of bounds, incomplete. %100% agree. Right. And not to take anything away from Joey Logano, he definitely is one of the, top 5, top 10 drivers right now and has been for quite some time. But yeah, I think consistency overall should be the deciding factor. Shotgun set, May, short middle to Stephon Diggs. Nice 9-yard gain. Third down and 1 at the Chargers 24. Tart and Henley with the tackle there for the Bolts. Yeah, but we'll be tapping into some NBA, NHL, and NASCAR streams, and maybe even WWE while we're waiting for baseball season to start. Football is getting close to, getting wrapped up. So, we have to, have a few days, during the week, Monday through Friday. So we'll be doing some NBA games on Prime and ESPN, the primetime games, the Seattle Kraken on Prime. We'll be doing some of that as well. Maybe a little NASCAR. Usually we do the Daytona 500 and we end up doing a few races. I'll do the Xfinity Series, the trucks, and the Cup Series if needed. Nice RPO there by Drake May. First down, Patriots. Move the chains. But then once we get into, obviously, baseball season, then it'll be Mariners, pretty much every day throughout the whole year. And my plan is to do pretty much every game if possible. So. Yeah, but NASCAR is a niche sport anyways, so again, not everyone's going to be into it for that reason anyway, Same thing with, NBA, NHL, WWE, AEW, NASCAR. It's not going to be as popular as like the NFL or college football. So, whatever decision they decide to make through NASCAR, it's not going to make, everyone happy. But again, there's a certain type of person, that is going to go out of their way to watch, right? So, and if you love it, you're going to watch, and for those casuals, yeah, the casuals may not watch towards the end, but a lot of the diehards, like obviously the 3 of us, we'll be watching. And plus, if you're a fair weather fan, they're not going to be sticking with it, throughout the full season anyways. They're just going to pick and choose, when they want to watch. So like for me, I'm watching from beginning to end as much as I can. Oh, it's 12 noon. You know what time it is? Time for a sack lunch. Ball comes out. Yum. And I think the Chargers recover, and they do. Wow. Big turnover there by New England. Owe bringing the pressure. And New England now with a tipped interception by May and then a strip sack. Wow. And now we'll see if the Chargers can get some points off the fumble recovery. Big sack there by Owe, knocks the football out. And then good awareness there by Hand, being in the right place and the right time. First down and 10 at the Chargers 23. 7:06 left in the third quarter, 6-3 New England. And the last time when they got that tipped interception off Drake May, they got it down to the 2-yard line on 4th down and 2, and Herbert decided to throw the football, and they should have taken the field goal. So it should be 6-6. They didn't get any points off the turnover, and we'll see if they can tie this game up 6-6, or if they can end up taking a 10-6 lead. But again, it's been kind of slim pickings, through these offenses in these first 3 quarters. Even though this quarter isn't over just yet, but at some point you got to assume that they're going to be able to open it up. That's why the NFL is so great. You just don't really know what to expect, going into any game, especially with the start of all the other games, have been so magical. Rams and Carolina with a shootout. That was kind of foreshadowing of things, that were about to come. Then we get the Bears getting down 21-3 at half, scoring 25 in the fourth quarter and winning 31-27. That was beautiful. Then you had the Niners and Eagles go back and forth, and Jalen Hurts has a chance to be able to get a touchdown to win, but ends up being incomplete in a very bland play call there, in the end of the game. Big win there by the Niners. And then the Jags and the Buffalo Bills were going back and forth. But again, if you give Josh Allen, a couple minutes and that last opportunity to win the game for Buffalo, 9 times out of 10, he's going to do it. And he did. And so again, we'll definitely see what we end up getting tomorrow with the Steelers and the Texans. I assume the Texans are going to win, even though they'll be on the road, especially with that D-line with Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. But we'll see if CJ Stroud can play well on the road. But I assume could be a pretty close game, but I feel that the Texans are going to be the better team. But we'll see if they show up and prove it tomorrow. Herbert, play action. Steps up in the pocket, bootleg, rolling to his right. Going deep to Johnson. And incomplete. Intended receiver was Quentin Johnston. Flag comes out, and we'll see if that's PI on New England on Christian Gonzalez. All right, no foul on the play, which is the good call. Yeah, the ball is underthrown. You can't call PI on that when it hits Gonzalez in the back. No way in hell that's a penalty. There is a little push. They're late as the ball is coming in, but it's underthrown. No flag. Good call. Good decision by the refs on, calling the game the right way. And we don't usually get to say that often about the referees. A lot of times there's all kinds of conspiracy theories on, they're trying to pull for this team or this player. But a good call there. Trips right, 4 wide receiver set with 1 back. Shotgun set from Herbert. New England showing blitz on 2nd and 10. Shotgun set. Floater down the sideline. And complete. And then the flag comes out again here. And this time it will be PI on New England. Carlton Davis III, the former Buccaneer, the guilty party. 1st down and 10 now after the DPI, the defensive pass interference. 1st down, Chargers. Move the chains. Yeah, you can't be grabbing the arm like that. Good call there. .651 left here in the third quarter in a low-scoring affair, a defensive battle. 6-3 New England. Hand off to Kamani Vidal, bouncing it to the outside, gaining about 1. Jack Gibbons, the linebacker, with the tackle. 2nd down and 9 at the Chargers 46. Yeah, but regardless if the ball was high, if you're grabbing the player on the arm, it's a penalty. I mean, you're not going to be able to get every call to go in New England's favor. I mean, I get it, they're at home, but we need correct calls, not home field calls. Shotgun set, Vidal bouncing it off that left guard for about 5 yards. Christian Barmore, stud D tackle for the Patriots with the stop. 3rd down and 4 at the New England 49. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. Shotgun set. Herbert going deep to Kamani Vidal. And complete. Ellis with the pressure. 4th down and 4 at the New England 49. Good defense there by New England, forcing the punt. We'll see what Drake May, Ramondre Stevenson, Travion Henderson, and Stephon Diggs have in store for us here on this next drive. J.K. Scott with the punt, and that bounces out of bounds. Now it's going to be 1st down and 10 at the New England 14. .5:10 left in the 3rd quarter, 6-3 New England. Let's get some points on the board. Let me get some touchdowns, baby. Chief in the building. What's good, brother? What's good, Chief? First game that's been lower scoring out of all the games that we've seen up to this point. But, the Bills and the Jags this morning lived up to the billing. There's no doubt about that. I know Jags fans are heartbroken and whatnot, but you finally got Trevor Lawrence looking like, a top 10 quarterback, with Liam Cohen, the Buccaneers offensive coordinator, doing a very good job. And, at some point, the Jags will win a playoff game if they continue to keep building their roster the way that they have. And you just gave Josh Allen too much time. And, Allen is the best quarterback as far as two-way threat, in the league through the ground and through the air. And, it's hard to beat that team. Their run defense stinks, but their secondary is one of the best, and they came up big with that tipped interception on Trevor Lawrence at the end of the game. And obviously, second game, most people assumed the Eagles were going to win coming into the game, and especially after Kittle with the Achilles injuries, his season is over. But again, it shows you how good Kyle Shanahan and Robert Saleh really are. But I assume their season will end when they go up to Seattle next week, and they end up playing in a rematch versus the Seattle Seahawks. But we get Seahawks and Niners, should be hopefully a decent game. And then you got the Rams and the Bears. I assume we'll have Seahawks and Rams in the NFC Championship game. And then if New England wins this game, which I assume they will, as long as they don't throw a pick six or a fumble for a touchdown or give up a special teams touchdown, then New England would play the winner of the Texans and Steelers, which I assume will be the Texans, which will be a tough matchup for them. And then it would be the Buffalo Bills going against the Denver Broncos. So it's going to get sexier as we move on, from the wild card round to the divisional round, AFC, NFC championship game. And those games might end up being better than the actual Super Bowl. But again, I'm very excited to see how it all plays out. I don't think Herbert is playing scared. I mean, both defenses are playing well. I don't know what game you're watching. Big sack lunch. It's 12 noon. You know what time it is. Time for a sack lunch by Tart. Yum, 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 yum. Tierre Tart with the big sack lunch. Loss of 8 yards. Second down and 18 at the New England 7. Yeah, that was the Buccaneers offensive coordinator. And then he ended up getting the job of Liam Cohen. So I wish he actually was still our play caller for Tampa Bay. We probably would have made the playoffs if, he was the play caller. But the defense still was terrible for the last 2 months, and the Panthers getting into the playoffs was the right choice instead of the Buccaneers, hosting a game against the Rams and losing by 30. So shotgun set, Ramondre Stevenson running off that right guard for about 5 yards. Third down and 13 at the New England 12. I mean, you could say top quarterback, top running back, and top secondary. So the only thing about Buffalo that stinks is their run defense. So, but if it ends up being a close game, whether they play, the Broncos or New England or the Texans, you can never count out Josh Allen. So shotgun set, May, short middle, Hunter Henry, big catch, first down, Patriots. First down and 10 at the New England 31. Nice laser there by Drake May. Bringing that electricity for this New England offense. And again, got to be able to get your tight ends involved at some point or another. First down and 10 at the New England 31. Shotgun set. May going deep to Booty. He's got it. Wow. First down, Patriots. And we were kind of waiting for Herbert and May to go deep. And now you're starting to see that. Booty with a nice catch and nice yak yards after the catch. 42 yards from May to Booty. First down and 10 at the Chargers 27, and it feels like New England in a moment or two is going to get into the end zone. About damn time. I mean, the third quarter is almost over, and we still don't have a touchdown yet. But again, it doesn't matter, as long as you win the game. And then obviously, if New England wins, they'll play the winner of the Steelers and the Texans. And if you're New England, you're probably hoping that Pittsburgh wins, because that'll be an easier matchup than playing the Texans, where you potentially could lose. But it would make for a better matchup if the Texans win. Texans and New England, Buffalo and Denver, and obviously Rams and the Bears, Seahawks and the Niners, and then Seahawks, Rams in the NFC Championship game, and then Texans or New England at the top, Buffalo or Denver at the bottom. And I don't think you really have a definitive answer if that's what we end up getting. The AFC is a little bit more open, between those 4 teams. The Buffalo Bills, the Denver Broncos, the New England Patriots, the Houston Texans. It could be any of those teams. But as far as the NFC is concerned, I don't see, the Niners or the Bears advancing over the Rams or Seahawks. Shotgun set. May going deep to Hooper. Oh, just out of reach. He went for the jump man, and just missed that attempt. That would have been a sweet one-handed grab there from Austin Hooper. Third down and 4 at the Chargers 21. Yeah, but you're a biased Steelers fan. Nobody wants to watch the Steelers in the playoffs. Except Steeler fans alone. That's it. Name any fan base other than the Steeler fan base that would think that that would be a good matchup. Nobody. Nice try, though. Pass towards the sideline and complete to Demario Douglas. Fourth down and 4 at the Charger 21. Nobody wants to watch Aaron Rodgers. Give me a break. Field goal is up by Borregales, and it is good. 9-3 New England. I mean, if we're really being honest and real, right, the Ravens would be more entertaining in the playoffs than the Steelers this year. Now, we know the Ravens obviously started off slow and Lamar got hurt, and whatnot, but, They have more excitement, with Lamar and Derrick Henry, and obviously we know the defense hasn't been the greatest for the Ravens, and same thing goes with the Steelers as well, but at least they have passionate fans. I'll give that to the Steelers. They have passionate fans. The terrible towels will be out, but again, nobody besides the Steeler fan base is going to want to see them, move on. Because if it ends up being the Steelers and New England, Steelers have zero chance of winning that game. Kind of how I feel, Rams and Bears. Bears have a zero chance to win that game. And if it's Seahawks, Niners, that one, obviously I assume would go to Seattle. As long as, Darnold doesn't get hurt or, doesn't throw 4 or 5 picks in the game. So, obviously Denver and Buffalo, that might be the most competitive matchup, based on the divisional round where you really don't know who's going to win that game. Yeah, well, your understanding is not meant for a channel that we actually know sports here. So, we deal with intelligent fans, not ones that are the other. Minnie in the building. How are you? Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. Now if we're talking about, the Steelers back in the 70s, yeah, that would be legit that we would want to see that. Or if we're talking about the Steelers with Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, fly like a butterfly, sting like AB, and Ben Roethlisberger, then yeah, maybe a team like that. But they really haven't had a good team like that, in quite some time. Or if Jerome Bettis is rumbling and bumbling, and whatnot. But let's be real. We know how good Mike Tomlin has been as a head coach, being above 500 for like fucking 20 years, but the teams haven't been as good as they were. And, you don't expect them to be as good as the 70s Steelers. That was like, a special time in history will never be repeated ever again, right? With Franco Harris and Lambert and company, you're never going to see the Steelers as good as that ever again. And again, they haven't had a good quarterback, since Ben Roethlisberger. They've been looking for a guy to be like Big Ben, but they started to realize, hey, Big Bens don't grow on trees. And, they've been bouncing around with the Kenny Pickett's and the Aaron Rodgers. And, that's fine, but that ain't going to win you a fucking Super Bowl or get you to an AFC championship game. That's just being real. But if you're blinded by your biased takes and your fandom, then, most people are biased, but we're not biased here. We just call it how we see it. Borregales kicks off 65 yards. And Darius Davis with a nice 18-yard return. First down and 10 at the Chargers 19. Yeah, love me some Troy Polamalu. Back when Ed Reed was balling out as well. That's when the Ravens and Steelers matchups were amazing. They're usually competitive because they hate each other so much. But if we're talking about talent, Hall of Fame talent, other than TJ Watt, there's not really a whole lot out there. Cameron Hayward, obviously has been pretty good, but you know what I mean. And Vidal with the fumble recovery picks it up, rumbling and bumbling. And a nice job there picking up that football. First down, Chargers. First down and 10, handoff to Kamani Vidal, bouncing it off that right guard for 3 yards. Tavai and Gibbons, the tackle there for New England. Second down and 7 at the Chargers 35. The only thing, the Steelers will have going for them tomorrow is that they have the fans, and the fans are passionate. I will give them that. End of the third quarter, 9-3 New England. And again, New England isn't playing up to their potential because the Charger defense actually showed up today, and normally they don't. But again, Harbaugh is coaching them, not a bunch of the scrub coaches they've had in the past. that were terrible. So, you got to give Harbaugh some credit with his schemes, with his other coaching staff, right? But again, they haven't really been able to move the football. But again, you assume New England is going to have good offense, good defense, good special teams, arguably the most well-rounded team in the AFC in the regular season, right? But, again, when you're in the playoffs, you never really know what to expect. I mean, we didn't expect Carolina to hang with the Rams to start the playoffs. We didn't expect, the Bears to score 25 in the fourth quarter, being down 21-3 and coming back and winning. I'm not sure if we anticipated Buffalo coming back and beating Jacksonville. And we definitely didn't assume that the Niners, after losing Kittle, were going to win the game against Philadelphia. So, again, that's why the NFL is so special, is that you can do whatever you do in the regular season to get into the dance, the playoffs. But once the playoffs, start off, even on wild card weekend, throw the records out the window. And again, you just really don't know what's going to happen. And again, it's a little underwhelming, to say the least, to have only field goals and have a field goal party where it's 9-3 New England. But, we'll see where it goes. I'm hoping that we can get at least a fucking touchdown by each team here before it's all said and done. But again, both defenses have played very, very well. And that's why we only have 12 points combined on the board. And again, if you're a Patriot fan, you're probably rooting for the Steelers to win to make it an easier path, because if it ends up being, the Patriots and the Texans could beat them, and then Denver and Buffalo, that could go either way. Just really don't know. So I feel like the AFC, with the Buffalo Bills and maybe the Texans, being the underdog, they could both win, against their opponents. I feel like the NFC, the path is starting to be a little bit more clear. Seattle should take care of the 49ers. The Rams will take care of the Bears. And then, who's to say, duke it out, throw your best haymaker, and, it's either going to be the Seahawks or the Rams in the Super Bowl. And that NFC championship game might be better than the Super Bowl. And then, when you go to the AFC side, it's either going to be New England and Buffalo, New England and Denver. And then if the Texans beat New England, if that's, were to happen and they were able to beat Pittsburgh tomorrow, if Houston ends up playing Denver or Houston and Buffalo, you would have to assume that probably is an advantage for Buffalo with Josh Allen if we end up getting that particular matchup. So, any of those four teams, and obviously the biggest underdog would be Houston, but they do have the best D-line in football. And as we have seen, defense wins games, defense wins championships, and they're the only team that's got two guys on the line, on the D-line, that have 10 sacks or more, and Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. So even if CJ Stroud doesn't play like a perfect game with Nico Collins and everyone else, if the defense is able to get pressures and sacks, they may not need CJ to play that great to be able to keep advancing. Shotgun set, Herbert going off that left tackle and gaining about 3, second down and 7 at the Chargers 46. And again, the game should be 9-6 right now. Chargers left a field goal on the board in the first half, getting a tipped interception off Drake May, 4th and 2 at the 2, and they ended up throwing the football with Herbert and getting nothing. So that's going to come back and probably bite them. I mean, obviously 9-3 and 9-6, that would be where you would want to be. And again, sometimes coaches end up getting a little bit greedy and maybe anticipating they're going to score much more points in the second half, but we're still stuck at 3 for the Chargers. Shotgun set, Herbert going short left to Quentin Johnston and complete. 3rd down and 7 at the Chargers 46. And, for all the people that, are assuming that, the Chargers should be doing more. They don't really have the best guys on offense, if we're really being honest. And on top of that, they don't have Slater and Alt on the line. So if they had those two guys, then the running game and the passing game would be better. I mean, I do like Ladd McConkey, but there's a lot of these other guys on the offense that could be replaced. So it's not like they have some superstar fucking lineup and they got the two best, guys on the O-line that aren't fucking playing. So, you can't expect too much. It's actually kind of a miracle the Chargers got to 11-6, based on what happened. So 3rd down and 7. Shotgun set. I see you. Hold on, honey. And complete, but the flag comes out. The illegal shift And that's going to be declined. 4th down and 7 at the Chargers 46. And if we end up getting a rematch of the Seahawks and the Broncos in the Super Bowl, obviously Seattle would definitely, like that opportunity again. And sometimes history repeats itself. But Denver would have to get past Buffalo and New England, or Buffalo and the Texans, and I don't know if they can. We know that Bo Nix is great in the 4th quarter, but they're not very good in the first 3 quarters. Defense is great, but offense usually is in mud for the first 3 quarters. So 14:01 left in the 4th quarter. Can we get a fucking touchdown, please? 9-3 New England. But even if New England wins this game with only field goals, they end up winning 12-3, 15-3. It's ugly, but again, at least it allows them to advance, and, it is what it is. Regardless if you win in, dramatic fashion or a blowout, as long as you're winning and, advancing, that's all that matters at this point. So far, it's a field goal party. 4 field goals, 3 for New England, 1 for the Chargers. Chargers left 3 on the board in the first quarter. Should be 9-6. And right now it's 9-3, and that'll probably be the reason why the Chargers end up losing this game. And sometimes when things don't go the team's way, instead of blaming the team themselves, sometimes you have to give credit to the other side, especially when New England is 14-3, normally scores touchdowns at will. It's not like, they've been super inefficient. It's, the defense has been kind of flying around for the Chargers, and, normally the offensive line for New England plays a little bit better, but, sometimes you just got to give credit to the other team that they stepped up. And, with that being said, Charger defense has stepped up and, held the field goals. But again, Herbert needs to run the football, for them to be able to get in better position. And again, they're not giving enough opportunities to Ladd McConkey. And again, they can only do so much with no Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater available on that O-line. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. 15 subs away from 23,400. And we'll be doing the Texans and the Steelers tomorrow at 5:15 Pacific. And then as we get into Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we'll be doing a little NHL and NBA. And then when we get to the weekend, we'll be doing the divisional round on Saturday and Sunday. And then we'll be doing the Natty between the Miami Hurricanes and the Indiana Hoosiers on the following Monday. Drake May under center, short left to Demario Douglas. Gains about 3 yards there in the flat. Nice tackle there by Henley. And that's going to be 2nd down and 7 at the New England 23. What's the date, Nat Man, for the first race for NASCAR this season? Are they going to have a race prior to the Daytona 500 like they did this previous year? What are we looking at for dates for when racing starts? Shotgun set. Trips right. 4 wide receiver set. Empty back here for Drake May. Chargers rush 3. Drake May steps up in the pocket. Goes towards the sideline to Jack Westover. 8-yard pass. First down, New England. Move the chains. February 1st clash. Okay. Bowman Gray. Okay. Yeah, we'll do some races on the channel as we, wait for baseball season to approach. I did a few trucks, Xfinity, and NASCAR Cup races this previous year, so it's always fun to be able to, get a change of pace, while we're waiting for other things to kind of start off. Handoff up the middle to Ramondre Stevenson. Jamari Caldwell, the D tackle for the Chargers, with the stop. 2nd down and 6 at the New England 35. But that's one thing, about the channel that I enjoy, is that we can do anything. It doesn't matter if it's basketball, baseball, hockey, wrestling, NASCAR. Like, there's not really any sporting event that I feel like uncomfortable, Now, obviously, if there was like UFC and boxing that was worth doing, we could even go down that path as well. So there really is, something here, as far as diversity, as far as sports and events. Nice job by Booty with the spin move. Hit him with a spin cycle. 16-yard pass from Drake May to Keyshawn Booty. 1st down and 10 for the New England Patriots. Move the chains. Yeah, I want to see a little bit more consistency out of Chase this year. Again, winning a race or two is all, fine and dandy, but again, I need to see a little bit more consistency. And, he was better than the previous year. So, he's going in the right direction, but it kind of feels like Larson, has the edge, and has had the edge for quite a while as far as the Hendrick, guys. And even Byron, it feels like, has surpassed him lately as well. May, shotgun set. And steps up in the pocket. He's got some crazy speed for his size. 8-yard run, 2nd down and 2 at the Chargers 41. I still love Chase, don't get me wrong, but again, and he can get top 5, top 10 finishes and whatnot, but, I feel like decision making and then the pit stops late in the races and whatnot, and as far as consistency, he used to be the top guy and Larson was 2, but now it kind of feels like Larson 1, Byron 2, and then Chase is 3, and he might be only better than Bowman in that group of 4, and, Chase is better than that, but again, he has to prove it and show it. It's hard to win races, no matter how, talented you are. And obviously you've seen Ford and Toyota kind of catch up to Chevy in the last few years as well. So it's not like, Chevy is going to automatically win the championship every year. It definitely has been a little bit more even, so to speak. Timeout, New England. 2nd down and 2 with 10:33 left in the 4th quarter, 9-3 Patriots. Yeah, it's not like Bowman is terrible, but, it would make you kind of wonder if Bowman is on the outs, who would they bring in? Love this helmet and uniform combo. Love to be able to see that at some point. But obviously they're always wearing the traditional, which doesn't look bad either. But that red pops. And that helmet pops as well. The throwback. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train, and 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it. Bang, bang. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. Yeah, I'm itching for racing to be back. I'm itching for baseball to be back. I love football. Don't get me wrong. I love the NFL. I love college football. I feel like I watch an insane amount of both, but once we start to transition into racing on top of baseball, that's another joy in my life that I really can't wait for that to get going again. Ramondre Stevenson bouncing off that left side off the tackle and a nice 13-yard run. Ramondre is having himself a game here today. Jefferson and Still there with the tackle. And New England with a great 1-2 punch with Ramondre Stevenson and Travion Henderson. They've been drafting really, really well in the last few years. First down, Patriots. Move the chains. And I like the way that the offensive line has been getting better and better each game throughout the year for New England as well. Drake May going deep. Hunter Henry is there. Hunter Henry, touchdown, New England. And we finally get the first touchdown of the night, baby. Getting behind the defense, and that was electric. Wow. Nice job by Drake May. About damn time. That was sweet. Drake May bringing the electricity. Vrabel, he fucking loves it. Nice job by Hunter Henry, and that's why you always want to make sure you get your tight end some opportunities to shine. Nice job. Very underrated tight end in Hunter Henry. I'm going to get a better photo than that. That one isn't up to my standard. See if we get one a little bit more crisper. Give me something more crispy. There we go. Sometimes they don't format correctly, so. All right, Hunter Henry coming up big, 16-3 New England, and that kind of feels that's going to be the nail in the coffin. Is it possible that the Chargers get a touchdown before the game is over in garbage time? Pretty likely, right? But it's not going to be able to be enough to catch up to New England, so. It's going to be the first game that ends up not coming down to the last possession or whoever has the ball last. And again, if they had better running backs and they had Alt and Slater, on the line, then maybe they're sitting at, 13, right now, or so. And remember, they left 3 on the board. So it could be 16-6, which is still not good enough to win. But, if they get a touchdown after that, then it could have been 16-13 and whatnot. But, no one really thought that the Chargers were going to win this game. I mean, as you saw all of the matchups, I feel, 99% of the country assumed that New England, based on their 14-3 record and how good Drake May has been this year, the MVP of the league, other than, Matthew Stafford, those are the guys that are kind of battling for the award, even though Stafford's numbers are quite a bit higher. But the efficiency factor for May has been just beautiful this year with Josh McDaniels. Let's see if Herbert can get the ball to Lad McCoskey or maybe the vet and Keenan Allen. But now you're starting to have some self-inflicted wounds. False start by Jamari Sawyer, the guard there for the Chargers. First down and 15 at the Charger 31. But again, we can't have every game come down to the wire. We actually were blessed, to be able to have the first, 4 games come down to the wire on the last fucking play of the game, which we have never really seen before, in the NFL playoffs to start off wild card weekend. So, we have to be blessed on how great it was up to this game. And then tomorrow, could be a similar type of situation with the Steelers and the Texans. But hopefully that ends up being a close game as well, which, it could be if the Steeler defense shows up and Aaron Rodgers actually plays decent. Shotgun set, Herbert scrambling to that right side and gaining about 15, 16 yards, breaking a tackle there. And Marcus Jones with the tackle and a late hit on the sideline, or pretty close to that sideline, but no flag. First down and 10 at the Charger 47. Move the chains. New England has had probably the best all-around offense, defense, special teams out of any team in the AFC. We know the Bills are very heavy at Allen and Cook at running back in their secondary, but their run defense stinks, right? Denver is amazing on defense, but their offense isn't very good in the first 3 quarters, but they're great in the fourth quarter. And the Texans, have a great defensive line, and the defense has been really good like Denver's, but CJ Stroud hasn't been as consistent as he was in his rookie year. You just don't really know, what they're going to be able to do from game in to game out. You got to be careful when you're sliding there, Herbert, with those long legs. Nice 11-yard run there by Justin Herbert. And like I mentioned, going into halftime, he might need 30 to 50 yards, and now he's at 56 yards rushing to try to get a little bit closer in this matchup. Shotgun set. Herbert steps up in the pocket. Floater towards the sideline, incomplete. The only way the Chargers win the game is if they get a touchdown here, they end up getting a stop, a 3-and-out on New England, they get another touchdown, and then they win 17-16. But the chances of that happening is probably like 1%, maybe less than 1% of happening. But you never know. That's why we watch sports, right? Or if they were able to get a touchdown here and then get like a fumble for a touchdown or a pick six on defense. But again, that would be asking a lot from the sports gods. We've seen a lot of comebacks, this weekend, but I don't think the Chargers are going to do it here. Trips right, shotgun set. Second down and 10. Herbert getting caught from behind. Ball is loose. And Herbert is hurt, and New England recovers. Now the game is over, and Herbert might be injured. He is fucked up on the ground. I hope he's okay. He got bent awkwardly there. The game is over now. And hopefully Herbert can continue. He got roughed up there. That's why it's so important to have Alton Slater, but he gets pummeled on both sides from the front and the back. And we should be able to see New England punch in another touchdown here before the game is over. So might end up having a 23-3 final here momentarily. All right, we're only 13 likes away from 50. So if you are in the room and you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Try to help us get to at least 50 before this stream ends. It'd be greatly appreciated. But again, you can't expect too much out of the Chargers or the Steelers. These are the two worst teams, in the AFC, to make the playoffs. And obviously the Panthers were the worst team in the NFC, but they ended up rising to the occasion since they were hosting, the playoff game. And Kuechly and Cam Newton showed up and they fed off the crowd and, they played well. Everyone thought that the Panthers were going to be the worst team overall in the playoffs, but it might actually be the Chargers or the Steelers. We'll find out tomorrow if Pittsburgh can, feed off their crowd. But, the Chargers are better than only 3. There's no doubt about that. But again, defense was good for both teams in the first half, but New England is, too much talent. The coaching is just brilliant, and it has been all season. And again, I can't wait to be able to see, hopefully the Texans win tomorrow. So that way we get Texans and Patriots. That'll be a better game. And then we'll get the Bills and the Broncos, which will be electric. And then we already have set in place Seahawks, Niners, and then the Rams and the Bears. Starting to look very sexy as far as the NFL matchups are concerned moving forward. First down and 10. Hand off to Travion Henderson. Bouncing off the right guard for a 6-yard run. Dayan Henley, the linebacker with the tackle, who's been absolutely everywhere for the Chargers. Second down and 4 at the Charger 39. Love me some Travion Henderson. Best rookie running back in this class, and, honestly, should be their RB1, but Ramondre Stevenson is, as long as he's healthy, he'll be the one for now, but that's a great 1-2 punch that they have. And obviously, if Ramondre gets hurt, which he typically does every season for at least a few games, Henderson proved that, he can be the bell cow, and he can be that 3-down back if that were to happen again. Hand off to Travion Henderson, goes backward this time. Nice tackle there by T.R. Tart. Third down and 6 at the Chargers 41. Yeah, unfortunately, the Bears have 0 chance against the Rams, and I don't think the Niners have a chance against the Seahawks either. But, Broncos, Bills could go either way. And obviously, if it ends up being Texans, Patriots, that one could go either way, depending on how those defenses play. It's more up for grabs in the AFC than it is in the NFC. Oh, Drake May gets popped. Fumble comes out. And wow, they really got lucky there, because if they were able to scoop and score, that would have changed the whole momentum of the game. And they get blessed on landing on that football. Holy cow. Welcome to the NFL, Drake May. Pow, pow! Great fumble recovery there by Jared Wilson. Someone buy him something. Yeah, the chance of the Steelers making the Super Bowl is fucking 0. But, if you want to think that, then, you're free to your opinion. Even if it's a conspiracy, 0% chance of that happening. Hell, even if they had Big Ben, Le'Veon Bell, and AB, they still wouldn't make it. Not this year. 5:39 left in the fourth quarter, 16-3 New England. And hopefully the Chargers can get a touchdown in garbage time just for pride. They're not winning this game, but it would be nice to see them at least get to 10 before this game is over. Yeah, but, you can come up with theories, but it has to be, believable. Something like that is not believable by anybody. Even people that don't watch football would think that would be crazy, and it would never happen. If you're going to come up with something, like that, it has to be plausible and actually could happen, Like, if you want to be able to throw something out there, that actually could happen, but it probably won't happen, would be the Texans making the Super Bowl. Then that would be something that, would be almost unbelievable. But if the D-line, with Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. dominate, and somehow they play New England, beat them, and then play Buffalo or Denver and beat them, that would be, more like a statement that people could maybe believe, But again, Steelers and Chargers, everyone knew that they weren't good enough. Those were by far the 2 worst teams coming in on the AFC, and obviously the Panthers on the NFC. And then obviously on the NFC side, if you're going to come up with a story, that's similar to the Texans making the Super Bowl, then you would have to say the Niners or the Bears making the Super Bowl on the other end. It doesn't really feel like it's plausible, but again, if there's injuries and, Sam Darnold gets hurt or he throws 4 picks and somehow the Niners beat them, and then, something happens to Matthew Stafford or Devontae Adams or Puka, and somehow Caleb and the defense finds enough, that would be more realistic. It wouldn't necessarily happen, but again, there's no scenario in any fucking universe where the Steelers make the Super Bowl, let alone win a game or 2. 5:39 left in the fourth quarter, 16-3 New England. Yeah, the Cowher era was fantastic. Even the Big Ben era, was nice. But really haven't had a team that good in quite some time. Shotgun set, and we got a false start there in Mekhi Becton. Not the time for a self-inflicted wound. First down and 15 at the Chargers 7. Come on, Chargers. Find a way to get at least a touchdown before this one is over. But based on Herbert getting crunched, on that previous drive, I mean, who knows if he can even move the football down the field against a stingy New England defense. Herbert, short middle to Kamani Vidal. Second down and 4 at the Chargers 18. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, back in that era, the best 3 defensive coordinators in the league were Dick LeBeau, for the Steelers, Jim Johnson for the Eagles, rest in peace, and then Monty Kiffin for the Buccaneers. I mean, those were the 3 that were the best, and there's no doubt about that. Second down and 4, shotgun set, Herbert, short left to Ladd McConkey. First down, Chargers. Spillane there with the tackle. First down and 10 at the Chargers 24. Shotgun set, Herbert, short middle to Quinton Johnston. 8-yard pass, second down and 2 at the Chargers 32. No huddle, shotgun set, Herbert going short middle to Keenan Allen and complete. Third down and 2 at the Chargers 32. I mean, any of the 4 teams, could end up making it, but there's only 2 teams that are going to make it on the NFC, Seahawks or Rams. So I just don't think that you're going to get enough out of the Niners and the Bears. But again, they're going to have to prove that they belong, and we'll see if they can hang. And again, the way that the Bears and the Niners have been playing lately, they're going to be confident, But again, Seahawks and Rams have been very, very good. Really, only way I can see those teams losing if they have injuries. Shotgun set. It's 12 noon. You know what time it is? Time for a sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. And Anthony Jennings, the linebacker for the Patriots, with the big sack lunch on Jay Herb. And that's going to be 4th down and 9 at the Charger 25. And we need people to be smart here. We don't need to have people that are going to make people dumber. Come on, my guy. You can definitely tell the people that watch football and the people that don't. And that's why they need Joe Ald and Rashawn Slater. Yeah. Toby in the building. What's good? Heartbreaking loss. Your guys' team is much improved with Liam Cohen. Wish he was still my offensive coordinator for Tampa. But again, that's what happens. Josh Allen is going to rip the hearts out of, quite a few teams, and you may not be the only team that feels that heartbreak. Could end up happening to Denver, could end up happening to the Texans and Patriots, and, Buffalo could end up making the Super Bowl. And honestly, if they end up making the Super Bowl against Seattle or the Rams, that'll probably be the most entertaining Super Bowl that we can get. Not to discredit New England, Denver, or Houston, but again, if it ends up being Buffalo, Seattle, Buffalo, Los Angeles Rams, that will be the best matchup as far as entertainment value, for hardcore football fans and fair weather fans, in my opinion. Shotgun set, Herbert going to Oronde Gadsden for a 10-yard pass, and that's going to be 1st down and 10 at the Charger 35. Yeah, and again, they don't have to worry about your Chiefs this year, right? So it kind of feels like this is Allen's opening, even though, New England and Denver have been very, very good, up to this point. But again, the only weakness that the Bills have is run defense. They got one of the best secondaries, one of the best running backs, and they got the best quarterback in the league, in my opinion, as far as running and throwing. We have seen Jalen Hurts and Lamar, Baker Mayfield flash, with running and throwing, but, Allen has been the guy for, quite a few years. And, since the Kansas City Chiefs have been eliminated, this might be the year where we see Josh Allen make the Super Bowl. But if they go against Seattle or the Rams, they'll probably be underdogs, because those teams are a little bit more well-rounded. But again, if Josh Allen has the ball late, will he out-duel Sam Darnold? We'll see. And if it ends up being Matthew Stafford and Josh Allen, that could be really something. Both guys are extremely clutch, late in games. 6-yard pass from Herbert to Ladd McConkey. 2nd down and 4 at the New England 41. Shotgun set. Herbert going deep to Trey Harris and complete. 2nd down and 10 at the New England 35. I mean, Jags defense was impressive. They didn't give up a rusher of 75 yards or more the whole season. I've never seen, a stat like that. But again, and Trevor Lawrence has gotten better. Instead of being a top 16 quarterback under Liam Cohen, he looks like he can be a top 10 quarterback moving forward. So it's just about beefing up the O-line and getting some more running backs and wide receivers and adding a few more pieces on defense. But, again, it just sucks when you have to go against guys like Josh Allen, or a Matthew Stafford. Guys like that could end your season. And, it definitely is not going to be the first time nor the last time that happens. Shotgun set. Herbert scrambles towards that left side for 1 yard. 3rd down and 9 at the New England 34. Ellis and Ponder with the tackle for the Patriots. Yeah, and remember all those years that the Bills tried to get past the Chiefs. They had RB2s and RB3s, like 2 or 3 of them, and that wasn't fucking good enough. And they finally got a guy that is a top 5 back in Cook. So floater towards the sideline and complete. And we're now at the 2-minute warning, and that was to Keenan Allen. 4th down and 9 at the New England 34. Well, with Mike, obviously, the Raven defense was a top 5 defense with him. And now, their defense is, booty without him, right? So again, normally, when you have a prodigy, as a defensive coordinator or offensive coordinator, sometimes it takes a couple years, to get the right guys and get rid of the distractions, and you get the right pieces in there. And again, Seattle was probably a year or 2 early, but they improved that offensive line and that defense and the scheme tremendously. And it also helps, that Darnold was electric for Minnesota. He's been electric, obviously, for Seattle. And getting rid of DK and Tyler Lockett, even though those were fan favorites, that was the right move, especially getting rid of DK, because he's a distraction, kind of a me guy. And again, hasn't really done a whole lot for the Steelers either. So, sometimes when you get these receivers who are divas, if you make it about yourself and not the team, it ends up not filling into the philosophy of what Mike was trying to do. So, I think that there's a lot of people that would have loved to be able to have, Mike, as their head coach. And again, there's been a lot of guys other than Mike that have had some great success in year 1. Liam Cohen with the Jags, fantastic season. Obviously Ben Johnson with the Bears, fantastic season. So Sometimes, a change of scenery can be good, going to a new team with a new philosophy. And sometimes, you overachieve and you end up doing a little bit better than anticipated. And all three of those guys have gotten better results with the Seahawks, the Bears, and the Jags. And, it's awesome to see, instead of seeing the same team over and over and over again. So. You think Herbert is overrated, but how good do you think you would do if you didn't have your two best offensive linemen? You don't have a running back. You're going on RB3 and RB4, and then you got, receivers and tight ends that are okay. But, again, what do you expect him to do? Again, you can only do so much. If you don't have a good offensive line, you got RB3, RB4 running the ball. It's like Oregon. If you don't end up having your two starting running backs and you have to go to RB3, RB4, and you don't have the right pieces, you can only get so much. And again, the things that really made the Chargers not live up to their potential was shitty coaching, right? Which they've improved with Harbaugh, right? Obviously injuries, and then obviously the defense usually ends up being the deciding factor. And again, no one, predicted the Chargers to win this game against New England, who ended up going 14-3. So, that just sounds like more of a hater comment, But again, if you ended up putting Justin Herbert on New England, with all the pieces that they have, he would be much better. But again, he's limited on what he has. And most people would understand, if you don't have your offensive line healthy, especially guys as good as Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater, that makes a huge difference, in the game. But even if they had both of those guys, they still don't beat New England, And again, it's like, what superstar players do they have fucking on the roster? Like, other than Herbert, Keenan Allen is old. I like Ladd McConkey, but he's not a superstar. You don't have Najee Harris or Omarion Hampton on the regular. So it's like, what are you really working with? You don't really have a whole lot. It's almost like the Chargers are like Denver. What the fuck does Bo Nix have? Barely anything. You can't expect guys to put up numbers like Stafford, when they have Kyron and Devontae Adams and Puka, when you have weapons like Ladd McConkey and fucking Troy Franklin and Cortland Sutton. You're only going to get so much when you don't have the talent. But I guess some people realize that and some people do not. Big sack lunch there on Justin Herbert, loss of 9. Milton Williams with the big sack lunch. First down and 10 at the New England 43. I mean, it's either you understand football or you don't, it's a team game, and there's a number of things that need to happen, for guys to get better, And again, if you don't have the right offensive coordinator, the right head coach, the right offensive line, the right supporting cast, you're going to be limited on what you can do. But at least they got the right coach in Harbaugh, but you still got a long ways to go to build that offense for Herbert. I mean, you beef up the offensive line, you end up getting, better running backs. You get a superstar receiver, like a Justin Jefferson for Herbert. Yeah, his numbers will be better, but again, he hasn't really had a whole lot to work with in his career. And for a majority of his career, he's had shitty coaching and shitty play calling. And then the defense doesn't show up and usually they get injured. So it's like they kind of have like a lot of things going against them. Timeout, Chargers. Second down and 9. Handoff to Travion Henderson up the middle. Beautiful run there. First down, Patriots. Move the chains. Wasn't the prettiest game. You do have to give credit to the Charger defense for the most part, holding New England 16 points. But again, a win is a win. But any 4 teams between New England, Houston, if they win tomorrow over Pittsburgh, Denver or Buffalo could represent the AFC. So at least there's like 4 teams that actually could represent, that could be like realistic, and then I don't know, how many people really think that the Niners and Bears could advance. Not me, but it definitely feels like Seattle and the Rams, and that's what you want. You want to have the best teams moving forward, so that way we have more excitement when we get to the NFC AFC championship game. And as we know, sometimes the NFC AFC championship game ends up being better than the Super Bowl, which could actually happen this season, especially if Buffalo doesn't make the Super Bowl. I think it's going to underwhelm. But if Buffalo does make the Super Bowl, like if it's Buffalo and the Rams or Buffalo and Seattle, that's probably going to be the best, like as far as entertainment with scoring. But if you end up getting New England or Houston or Denver, it might end up underwhelming a little bit on that side. I mean, obviously, fans of those teams are going to be excited if you're a Texan fan, a Bronco fan, or a Patriot fan. But those style of play, for those teams isn't going to be for everyone. And another kneel down here for Drake May. And nice job there by Drake May. It wasn't the prettiest game and whatnot, but they got the job done, and he ends up getting his first playoff victory win. Final score, New England Patriots 16, Chargers 3. And again, you could say it on both ends. We assumed New England would score, 4 points or more, 20 to 30 we were expecting. And we expected the Chargers to put up, probably, I don't know, somewhere between 14 and 20 or 14 and 17. And again, defenses came alive, and there's a reason why New England is advancing. They are the most well-rounded team, in the AFC, and Drake May did his thing. Final score, New England Patriots 16, Los Angeles Chargers 3. We'll be live tomorrow for the Texans and the Steelers on Monday Night Football, and that'll be at 5:15 Pacific. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do on your way out. And I got one question for you. Who talks sports like us? Your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics, and I am out. Okay.